All right, going to call up Policies and Priorities Committee meeting to order for Monday, November 10th. Take approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. That all items in the November 10th, 2025 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes for October 10th, 2025 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the October 10th, 2025 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes, council. Since I wasn't here, I'd like just to get some clarity, if I may. I gotta find it because I didn't have a pen when I was doing this. Page 6 of the agenda just talks about the policies and procedures for remove the 2023 upper bench monetarium as per legal opinion. Ms. Scott, where are we at on that? Was there any direction given?
Yes, but because that is a legal opinion, that will be coming forward to council in a closed meeting.
Okay, but council gave a direction to seek legal a second time?
No, that is additional information that will come in the closed.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything from business arising from council? Anything else there, Ms. Scott?
No.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports. Hope Truck memo of understanding, a report dated November 10, 2025 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the Hope Truck memo of understanding. Take a recommendation, please, Councillor Noxana.
The council authorizes Mayor Krakoka to sign the memorandum of understanding between the District of Tumbler Ridge, District of Chetwynd, Soto First Nation, and West Moberly First Nation for the Hope Truck Initiative.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion? Councillor Noxana? Councillor Bertrand?
Thank you, Mayor. Just curious, I wasn't able to find it in the MOU, but there was some talk about having a board of directors to administer these funds between the parties. Is that in the MOU?
It's on the MOE. You'll see it coming forward, I believe, if they continue with the Hope Trucks in regards to 2026. So at this point, this was 2025, came from IMW. Maryland came forward with an idea. They ran with it. They obviously talked to the chiefs of Soto and West Moberly, came up with this concept. There was talk about a board then, but because of the time frame on getting it moving forward, I think if they do it in 2026, my understanding from Chief Wilson and Chief Paquette is they want to do what they thought they were going to do in 2025, and that would be to have a board of directors.
Okay, so would that be an add-on to this MOU then? Because I think that's a very important aspect of this partnership as well.
Yeah, it would come back for council.
Thank you.
If that's the route they decide.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other discussion from council? Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. 6.2, Business License Bylaw Review. A report dated November 10th, 2025 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding Business License Bylaw Review. Recommendation from council? Okay. I'll put the council direct staff to revise the draft business license bylaw based on the discussions at this meeting, which is in the report, and subsequently send the revised bylaw for public survey with results to be presented at an upcoming meeting for consideration. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give kudos to our corporate officer. This is so thoroughly and well done within the action items that are presented of reasons and evidence to justify them. I don't have any recommendations or suggestions. It's very well done.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Yeah, and thanks, Councillor Norbury. Actually, the same words, the same comments. Job well done. I mean, when you read through this, and I mean, obviously we had working workshop with council and staff to kind of go over the initiative that staff was looking at. And I think it's been all captured in there. I think it's a job well done by staff. Ms. Scott, your staff's done, I think, a great job when it comes forward to council, and we're not putting it for discussion and start talking about things and changing things and making different motions that staff have to try and capture to move this report or this bylaw forward for the changes that are needed. I think it really cleans up the previous business bylaw, I think is what I find. I think for business individuals coming in to buy a business license, it's very, very clear on the fees that we're charging and items like that, and where you sit within the categories instead of it being in a different realm. So it's a great job by staff. So thank you very much. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. It's very well done. I like the way we've broken down the different business classifications. It's much more specific. I did notice that we are going to decrease the revenue by a small amount, but I think over time it'll be much more transparent and easier to follow. I just have one quick question. I did read that our Chamber of Commerce was consulted or requested for consult, but I didn't see any results on that. I'm just wondering if the Chamber chimed in on this at all.
Ms. Scott?
We did not get a response from the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much.
Follow-up?
No.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Fees and charges bylaw for review. Report dated November 10, 2025 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding the fees and charges bylaw for review. Recommendation. Okay, I'm going to move that council receives the fees and charges bylaw review for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Who would like to start us off? If nobody's prepared to, I am. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Just keeping it general, I had a couple of questions for staff. There was a few spots where the increase was 20% and with the notation essentially of a middle step. I'm wondering if we have two steps like that, will we be caught up on every one of these fees by the next year? And I'll leave that one for being answered, and then I have one other question.
Ms. Scott?
I think it depends on which fees specifically you're talking about and where council ultimately ends up being comfortable with. So if we're talking about, for example, the cemetery fees are quite low. If we keep increasing them by 20%, I think it will be a significant amount of time before we can reach where other surrounding communities are, but that may be council wants to keep some of those costs low. With the golf course, again, I think it depends on where council is comfortable with those fees being, but yes, I would say that within 2 years of increases, the golf course would be relatively on par with other golf courses. And then with some of those other administrative fees that are going up by 20%, again, within a couple of years of increases, we would be closer to being equitable.
Okay, thank you for that. That's answering the question. I was wondering if that was sort of a general principle that went through here, or if it was more detailed. So the answer is more detailed than I expected. Thank you for that. And the only other question I had in a general sense was, did staff consider a minimal fee? Just some of the first ones I noticed have been going down to like $5, and I was just functionally for year to year. I was wondering if they considered just having a minimum fee of $10 or something like that.
Ms. Scott? And I'm assuming you're talking about on some of the lines where they moved from 10 back to 5?
I am talking to any line where a proposed fee of $5 is there. They had a 10 to 5, they had a 25 to 5, and so on. So I was just wondering if we just have a sort of a flat minimum fee, if that was considered, and if it was, I'll leave it at that, and if not, I may want to discuss it.
Okay. Ms. Scott?
I don't believe we considered a minimum fee. Those are some fees that are within the corporate area. So I can ask our corporate officer what considerations they took into account when coming up with these recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. We consider the amount of time spent to process those requests, which are pretty simple, and we didn't consider any minimum fee at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Hold up.
No, good.
Thank you. Councilor Norberg?
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. My only comments, not a question, is just in regards to the golf course. I can respect that we are behind in our fee rates, but I have a hard time doing a 20% bump all in 1 year. I would be more in line, I would prefer a gradual increase if you want to, if that's the decision of council to get in alignment with the rest of the region. But 20% right up front is quite a large hit. Whereas if we did say 5% a year for the next 5 years, would be a little more realistic. We'd still get in alignment with the regional averages, but people won't get the sudden sticker shock of like, this is suddenly gone up quite a bit, and we have a lot of golfers. Yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Councillor Jelic and then Councillor Noxana.
Thanks. I was wondering about industrial water users when I look at the amounts there. When you look and see Dawson Creek and the trouble that they're having, and I'm just wondering if if there's a industrial user that is selling water, or I don't really know what our industrial users, what that looks like, but I think about, they're talking now with fracking and stuff like that, and I'm assuming we don't put out water for that. But I'm just wondering if we're gonna look at that, what that maybe looks like. Have we thought about it, I guess maybe was another piece of it. And does the amount that we're charging per year cover our costs? Residential water or industrial user is $878 per year. So I'm assuming that would be like the car wash, that kind of stuff, yes?
I'll go to Ms. Scott, but on page 118 of the agenda,
Yeah.
it has it broken right down on
Yeah.
on car washes, so that's definitely
okay,
not
I
car
missed the
washes.
car
Car
wash.
wash is separate from a service station is 1404.89. And then it has, so industrial users is not the car wash.
Okay, yeah, I didn't read up
Because then
onto
there's
that.
service stations with an automatic car wash.
Okay.
So just need your question that you're just looking, is that,
I'm wondering if we're charging enough. Like, have we researched it versus other, I know we don't have a meter, well, I know we have meters that we just don't use them, but I'm just wondering, are we on par there? And I just think of the report that we got from Urban Systems earlier this year on our water and sewer, and are we gonna make sure that we have enough of a cushion if we have a catastrophic failure like Calgary did?
yeah, so my understanding, and I'll go to Ms. Scott or the staff, my understanding is the 3% increase was what was approved by council previously. And the same with the sewer rate, but Ms. Scott? And that was to get us where we need to be going.
Right.
Because we weren't doing the adjustments in the previous years, so last year we did an increase, and then we preset the increase for 2026 for water user rates as well as sewer, but Ms. Scott?
There is in the report that goes with, it does talk about the need to increase sewer, that 6%, to make up for what we didn't receive in revenue in 2025. So what we were charging in 2025 was not enough to cover the expenses. So we are requesting or recommending the 6% increase that will bring in the additional revenue we needed for 2025 with a more comprehensive review of both the water and sewer rates going forward for 2027.
Follow up?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Councillor Noxana, and then Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you. There's a few lines that it seems like new lines. So, for example, page 13, water thaw, and it's $135 an hour. Would those be things that we didn't charge for previously, or was there a base rate we charged?
Ms. Scott? What page number are you? Sorry, I'm,
13 of 29 of this report, because I'm on
yeah,
lines.
thank you. Just want to make sure I'm on the right page.
Water thaw was one of those things that was included in the policy, but was missing from the fees and charges bylaw.
Thank you.
Good. Councillor Bertrand?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple questions here in regards to the golf course. I do spend a lot of time in the summertime down there, so I'm pretty familiar with the course and the fees. Within this report, we've got 5 golf courses for comparison to show a regional average. I'm just wondering which of these 5 are publicly owned?
Ms. Scott?
I will ask the Director of Community Services to provide that information. I know his department was the one that got all that information for the comparisons.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. Looking at the comparison here, it is just make sure I have it right here. It's the Fort St. John Links, High Prairie District, and that's those two.
Okay, thank you.
Follow.
Yeah, please. So Lake Point in Charlie Lake is an 18-hole course, and that's why the membership fee is so much higher. It is also I would say the best kept golf course in the Peace region. It's absolutely beautiful down there. So the investment that it takes to make that kind of a quality product is much higher than certainly what we're spending here in Tumbler Ridge. So I really don't see this membership fee of $14.76 being applicable in this table to create the average. I do agree with the 20% increases, but I don't think that's enough for trail fees and cart storage. I do agree the green fees are certainly lower. According on this chart, I think being an avid golfer, I think Farmington Fairways is certainly our closest competitor as far as course goes and quality of course and services provided. And their trail fee is $190 compared to our $80. And the reason we charge trail fees is because we're losing revenue on the carts that we could rent. Trail fees are for carts, privately owned carts. When people want to bring their privately owned cart on the course, they charge a trail fee because you're losing revenue on not renting them a cart. So $80 for the year for a trail fee seasonal is extremely low. That is 3 rounds that you would make up renting a cart. So, I mean, I think last season I probably got about 50 or 60 rounds in with my private cart. So we're certainly losing money in that sense, and having the investment in new carts and adding carts to the fleet is only going to grow our revenue down there because nobody wants to walk our golf course anymore. But yeah, I definitely think our trail fee needs to increase significantly because we are losing money by allowing these private carts to come on our course. I grew up in Edmonton area. When I go down to visit, I ask if I can bring my cart down to their course. They say no. They don't allow private carts on the course because they're losing money on the revenue they could gain from renting them a cart. So I certainly think that the trail fee for the seasonal needs to go up significantly, much more in line with Farmington. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that price, to be honest. I felt very fortunate to only have to pay $80 for a season. As well as the golf cart storage, I think it's extremely low given that we're allowing our patrons to use that storage all year long. My question for staff, obviously in the wintertime our expenses are going to go up because we heat that building for some reason in the wintertime. I don't agree with heating it in the winter. All of these carts, even the electric carts, you can pull the batteries out of them. They don't need to be stored and heated, to be honest. I honestly think that there should be a different cost for winter storage down there. I do believe, I'm not 100% sure as I'm not part of that building, but I do believe that the cart storage is being used for other storage as well as their golf carts, which I don't agree with. But I think it needs to definitely increase more than 20%. It's a significant benefit. There's 16 spots in there. The golf cart storage building was built over 10 years ago. I think one person has gotten in there from the waiting list in 10 years. So it's certainly well used, possibly abused a little bit, but it's extremely cheap for yearly storage. If we looked at yearly storage at any other storage place, this doesn't even come close. So I'm definitely in favor of increasing that. But what I'm curious, question for staff is if we know what the utility cost is in the wintertime and if we are charging enough to cover the utilities.
Ms. Scott?
I don't have that handy. I will ask again, the Director of Community Services if he has that information available.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Mayor and Council, I don't have the numbers right now with me, but I can look into that for Council.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate Director Bento. I just feel like if we have a better understanding of the costs, especially in the wintertime, we could certainly have a better understanding of what we should be charging in there. If we do need to have a different cost for winter storage, for heated winter storage, I think that would be certainly reasonable to request. So those are my concerns with this. I do have some concerns with the regional average, as it is comparing private golf courses compared to all public, as well as the Lake Point really should be taken out of this because it is an 18-hole course and they spend a lot of money to make that course beautiful. So when we look at these regional comparisons, I think we also have to look at the investment to make the product feasible for patrons. So by using the golf course every year, I can understand that we do have low investment in our product. And it shows, I mean, yes, we have a beautiful golf course, but when you look at other golf courses, we aren't investing as much as they are to produce the product. We are hoping and praying that we get rain in the springtime to hopefully green up the grass. Luckily, it was built perfectly back in the day so that it does come up lush every year. But the investment in, for example, fertilizer, herbicide, and fungicide is nowhere near, I would argue, any of these golf courses. So when we're looking at regional averages, I think we really need to understand that the product that we're putting forward as well. So, thank you.
Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Bertrand, to say you're answering some of the questions I had, not being a golfer from this, or at least when I did golf, it wasn't in this area. I think we're asking the wrong question. It's being run as a business. Are we selling as many rounds as we can, or how close are we on usage to 100%? And if we're close, then the market will have the room for us to charge at least that 20%. And thank you for the explanation on what the trail fees were. I think we went over that before, but I didn't recall, so that is an excellent point. I don't know if you'd call yourself average at 50 rounds in a season, but that seems to be an excellent value for you. I know this isn't going to be popular, but I'm going to say it anyways. If we were to invest in our fleet, keeping this more in mind for next year than this round, perhaps we remove the need for cart storage for private use. I'm just seeing here that there's at least a couple of these places that don't have cart storage, and I'm guessing with they all have cart rentals at roughly the same rate. I would rather spend the space on treating it as a sort of a full service golf course. I have no problem investing in this if this is something that we can do here. If we can up our prices and our usage is still up and we can have a better product, I'm all for it. As far as today, I would also like to see the trail fees go up today. I'm okay with the 20% for this year. I know there's some resistance to that, but golfing is not a cheap game, and overall, especially with a seasonal pass and a green fee of $25, it's a lot more affordable than I'm used to. I'll leave it at that. So I will wait for a couple of others since I see some green lights, but I think I'm ready to make some motions.
Thank you. I got myself, and then I got Councilor Bertrand. I'm going to make a couple comments. I didn't do 50 rounds, but I have some issues obviously with the golf course and some of the rates that are suggested here. One thing I have a concern with is, like, we didn't look at Taylor. It might be 18 holes, but it's owned by the municipality. We didn't look at the closest golf course to our own community, which is Dawson Creek. Doesn't suggest anywhere within this report, unless I'm missing it, and I've kind of went through it, and I went through it the second time while I've been sitting here listening to everybody. But it doesn't state whether their cart storage is season, if it's only for if it's annually, if it's for the season, because I have the same concern with our golf cart storage building. Last time I was in there would have been last winter. It was 35 degrees inside there, when it was minus 35 outside. I heard that's been dealt with by staff. They've put a lock on the thermostat, but it was like 35 degrees in there. And that's a huge concern. When I was in there, it wasn't used for golf cart storage. It was used for any kind of storage. I do not think if we charge two different rates, I do believe there should be a seasonal charge for golf cart storage. And then there should be, you want to leave it in there all winter, there should be another charge. Whatever that is, whether that's double the price or that plus half price. I've reached out to other courses. It sounds like there's other courses do the same thing. It's whatever the number is, $400, $450 during the season. And then if you want to leave it in afterwards, it's $250 to $300. Depends what course you call. My thoughts there is if a cart holder decides that, no, I don't want to leave it in there for the winter and pay that extra, they don't lose their spot. It's not fair. That was one of the concerns I heard from our local golfers. But that might be able to be rented out to somebody that doesn't want to store their cart outside in their backyard, possibly. So I do think we need to look at it. I actually believe we need to send it back to staff to grab her some more information from other local courses, Dawson Creek, Taylor, mention a few, like when we have Charlie Lake, Lake Point in here, it's probably one of the most pristine golf courses within the Peace region. I've golfed it many times. It is beautiful. I can concur with Councillor Bertrand when we talk about investment into a course compared to, minimal investments into a course and what you get out of it. The other thing I'd like Council to kind of think about, we talked about it during budget when it came to, approving budgets to buy more golf carts. Maybe we need to see what kind of workload it is for staff to be able to break some of this up into different GLs. So my thought when we're looking at this fees and charges, maybe we need to state that, we averagely buy 8 or 12 or 16 carts, whatever it is, so many years, that we actually take the money that we're renting these carts for, instead of it going into general revenue where we just spend it wherever, it actually goes into the GL account until there's enough money there to replace the carts that staff are looking at doing. And then after it hits that number, so whatever number it is, it's that 60 grand plus an extra 20, whatever it may be, then it goes into general revenue until it's used. And then obviously we build the account back up. I believe the same thing when it comes to the trail fee. Fairly cheap, $80. Just so council's aware, within here, to rent a locker that's 40 years old or 41 years old within the golf course downstairs, 41-year-old locker, $60. Some are falling off the hinges. Some you can't put the clasp on no more. But I'm not doing any more damage to that wood. That wood is 41 years old, hasn't been painted, but I pay $60 for that. I can pay $80 to go and use the trails around the golf course while I golf. That money should be used to update those trails, maintain those trails. So I would think the same thing when it comes to the trail fee, that is also put into a GL. I'm not sure what kind of workload that is for staff, so I'd like to hear back from staff on that before I would do it. But then again, it's used for when the golf course needs to add more asphalt. They need to do work on the trails. They have some money there that they're not constantly working taxation. It's actually already built in, so it's just another way of setting that money in there. Those would be my comments about the golf course. When I look at the average fee, and I know Councilor Norbury, no disrespect, but when you say 20%, geez, But when you look at the increases, I don't know, it's not a huge increase, especially from what we've been charging. You know, I look at 9 holes weekdays from $25 to $35. $5, and we haven't upped our fees forever in regards to, and again, I didn't do 50 rounds, I didn't do 40 rounds. But I think we're fairly reasonable when it comes to cost per round. The biggest thing I see here is when I see twilight hours, starting at 3 o'clock. Well, I might as well wait till 3 o'clock every day because it's about 24 degrees, 26 degrees in August, and the sun is shining, and I get a huge discount to golf from 3 till 10 o'clock at night. Like, to me, we need to look at that as a twilight hours. Those I think are probably, I don't know why it would be that early. I think that needs to be looked at in regards to the fees and charges. Twilight is usually you're running to golf to save that money. You know, you're running around the golf course to get your 9 holes in because you're saving $15 or whatever it may be. But I look at and I do believe, and you know, I know Councillor Bertrand's mentioned that, you know, maybe we don't invest as much money as other courses do into the golf course. But when you talk to our users, our golf course is pretty good. To me, I think we forget about how much of an investment that is down there. Yes, adding a few dollars to a budget, just imagine what it could do. But I always sell it that we have the best golf course in the piece. And I know there is, you know, some private ones that, you know, put a lot of money into theirs. But yeah, I think we need to look at a few things like that in regards to the trail fees, the golf cart rentals for the power carts, gas carts, I guess now. And then the twilight hours. I just think, you know, when we're going to give a huge discount like that you're scrambling to get 9 holes or 18 holes in, not 3 o'clock. To me, that's a prime tee-off time. I'm not sure what golfers all think, but I'm not the biggest golfer, but to me, I think we don't have enough. I don't have enough, and I've read this report. I've read it very thoroughly. I think we're missing some golf courses to get that true information. And I mean, Councillor Bertrand, you mentioned it. We got Lake Point's an 18 hole golf course, and we got it in here with a membership that really affects the regional average. When you think it's $1,476, $1,500 for a membership fee, it really makes that number different. So I do think that, to me, and I know staff has spent some time on this, but I think to get it right, because we keep talking about, we talked about it last year during budget, we talked about it again this early fall, when this is going to come forward. I think we need to make sure that we spend the time to get it right, because I think it does make a big difference. Ms. Scott, my one question to you before I go to Councillor Bertrand would be, and I read it in a whole report. It says it everywhere in regards to labor. If we do this, here's our labor hours. We know that increases every year. My understanding is this would be readjusted every year, for sure, on things that are labor intensifying. So like when I talk about water on, water off curb stop, that would increase, automatically will come back next year in front of the council, or would it be just automatically increased to capture the increases per QP?
It would be our intention to review all of the fees every year.
Okay. Thank you. I got Councillor Bertrand and Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Hoffman, I hope to try to answer a couple questions of yours there. Our course has been exposed to the Peace Country significantly over the last 2 years. I've been golfing down there for 20 years now, and these last 2 or 3 years are the first time that residents have actually had to make tee times because it's so busy. The one thing we are missing down there to optimize usage is a course marshal. So we schedule tee times every 10 minutes or 7 to 10 minutes. Yes, we have pro shop staff in there taking the fees and all that, but there isn't anybody on the course that is ensuring proper play or allowing groups to go through, or even scheduling a foursome with a single behind them. It's just not optimal, right? The single person gets upset because they're having to wait and sometimes just leaves the course. So optimizing those tee times, you can bring it back to 7 minutes per tee time instead of 10 currently, and you would push so many more people through. But The problem we're having right now is there's no enforcement of time of play right now. So currently, like last season, we had groups of members go out as an eightsome, like 8 people golfing at the same time, and not allowing other people to play through. So basically, they're treating the course like their own. They're the only ones on the golf course, which isn't true. And that is not accepted on any golf course. So we're really, really missing a course marshal down there. I know there's been a position created for it. It wasn't ideally filled, if I can put it nicely, in the last few years, to make it effective. And now that we're seeing the traffic that is coming from Chetwynd, the memberships that are being bought from Chetwynd, the traffic that's also be coming from Dawson, I think we need to just adjust a few slight things down there, and we're going to have record revenue. We're going to have record revenue this year. I can't wait to see the numbers, but it's going to continue because we have been exposed. It is a prime golf course in its current condition. Mayor Kirkowka, I do like the idea of a sub-account for some of these charges because we're dealing with 20-year-old asphalt down there. A lot of the trails per se or golf cart trails are in very rough shape, and it does need some work. But yeah, I do agree. I would like to see more costs to compare to what we're charging to ensure that we're cost recovering on that golf cart storage. And golf cart storage is really a luxury for people that have a private cart. And it's kind of an attraction for somebody with a cart that, well, if I can keep it at this course, I'm going to get a membership here, right? If I can't keep it at this course, I might visit it once in a while, but I'm not going to buy a membership. So it's kind of a luxury item where you can attract more golfers for memberships. So that's really the reasoning for it. But I would like to see the costs to make sure that we're recovering, especially in the wintertime.
Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Bertrand, if I may ask, with your 50 rounds in, was it closer to a 60-minute average or a 90-minute average per round?
Oh, no, you're looking at 90 to 2 hours round.
Okay, so you're getting caught. That 10 minutes isn't enough for spacing.
It's plenty enough. It's actually too much.
Okay.
If we went back to 7 minutes, you would be able to get 3 more groups an hour out. So, but the problem with going with that shorter timeline is you need somebody on the course to enforce it, and which we don't have.
No, thank you for that. I was more asking for, we have a twilight discussion. I think we can solve that one right now. I think with the 90-minute average that I would say that you have twilight from an hour and 45 minutes before sundown. And do you guys have a late twilight category right now? And then a late twilight category and an hour and 15 minutes till whenever you close the court.
So to me, it's got to be direct staff. So I know staff closes the pro shop at certain times.
Okay.
So there's cart rentals. The last cart goes out at a certain time. And it does, I know staff updates that through the summer as we get longer. We get into the longer hours of operation. And then as we get into lower light, they change the hour, what time the last cart can go out. So that'd be staff. That's that.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave it to staff then.
Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Jelic.
Thank you, Mayor. So hearing from 2 golfers, one avid, one mixed, I suppose. Yeah, you've convinced me about the rates. Fair enough, 20% is reasonable. I do have some comments regarding cart storage. I know Councillor Hoffman was, questioning it to generate revenue for the course. I think, we did have a delegation come in and describe the need. We have a wait list for golf cart storage, so I think it's definitely something we should preserve there. I did have a question regarding golf course revenues. I can appreciate, we're almost getting into a conversation where we're trying to turn this into a business. Where do the golf course revenues go? Do they just go to general revenue for the district, or do they go to a specific line for the golf course?
Ms. Scott?
It's general revenue.
Thank you. You know, I can appreciate that it's, you know, we're inundated with, we need to run like a business, but, you know, we are not a business. We need to take business principles to maintain cost efficiency, to run effectively, but, you know, until this is its own business, you know, I think we're getting a little too, you know, into the weeds on that one. Because like when we're talking about costs going to course martial, you know, money being put into GLs for asset replacement, which I think is a great idea. I think is very reasonable for us to do, but I'm just uncertain if we raise costs, will this go into those improvements that we want to see? I don't see that happening right now. Not that I'm against these raises, but I think it's something we need to think about in our discussions, in that just because we raise costs doesn't mean we're going to raise services, which I'm completely fine with. We don't have to have the direct comparison, but yeah. Back to fees. Yeah, you guys told me on that one. Thanks.
Thanks. Just make a comment before I go to Councillor Julick. So I mentioned about, I mean, trail fees would be one, but when we talk about the golf carts, really and truly, we already have equipment funds set up, just not directly for that. So we already do some of this. I just don't think we're using it openly for some of the stuff that we're actually charging for. To me, like when we don't charge the use, well, I should, yeah. At this time that we don't charge for public use of our grader, so it's hard to say, oh, well, we should put so much money away, but we already do that for replacement. So this here, it would be what we've rented out for, instead of it going into general revenue, just to spend wherever, it would go into a kitty first, just like that. Just so we already have them, it would just be, I just don't know how you do it. Councillor Julick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciated the comments. My curiosity was piqued with Councillor Bertrand saying that people are maybe misusing the golf cart storage. So I wonder if that's something we want to think about, to see if there is misuse of that going on, that we get a handle on that. I appreciate you checking the heating, because that was actually going to be one of my questions. I'm on the same page as Councillor Bertrand. I don't know why it has to be heated. It's covered storage. And that's all it needs to be. People can take out their own batteries. I do agree with Councillor Mayor Kakauka with, I believe our trail fees still need to be higher than what's proposed here in the bylaw. I think that the golf cart storage needs to be increased. The twilight, I think, needs to be changed to be not after 3 p.m. and whatever that looks like. But I agree. I think you need to be running to finish that discounted rate. But now that I'm looking at it, it's showing $36 versus 30, so 36 for 18 holes?
Correct.
Gotcha. What's that?
Yeah, as many as you can go from 3 to whatever.
Oh, yeah, all right. But that could be the same as leisure, so that's neither here nor there. But I really do appreciate the idea of the trail fees for sure, and the storage fees, as we talk about that going on, and that I feel like that needs to be cost recovery. That's a whole other conversation, as we've had it many times before, but those are the things that I see within the golf course stuff. And my other concern is the cemetery costs. I just was wondering if we are, sorry, I'm just trying to find the page for you. It's shortly after the other one. I think that I would like, I don't understand all the terms in there. Here I am, it is on page 104. Like, I don't know what columbarium niche, like, so some of those terms I don't have an idea. I'm just looking at our rates versus average. And so what I'm trying, and so they're looking for a 20% increase of the costs that are currently on there, correct? Okay.
That's what.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I just, and I guess it would be one of those ones I would like to know if we're getting close to what we need to be. Again, I don't mind if we, like, I don't think it's terrible if we don't recover all of our costs in there, but I think we should be darn close. Like, just, I don't know if that's, and maybe because we've never talked about the cemetery and cost before, like, I don't remember ever talking about it, so for me, that's where I would be wondering, particularly in our last meeting, as we looked at the very small reserve we have for the in perpetuity if that's the right word, whatever. All right, I'm done.
Ms. Scott? This is kind of, looking at what staff is mentioning in regards to Schedule K and cemetery rates, this kind of, I'm assuming we've done some investigation, realized that, we need to be making sure we recoup some of the access fees or charges that could be for when we did the update within the cemetery and the ongoing upkeep of the cemetery. This kind of brings us, my understanding from Councillor Judick wants to know, this kind of brings us, that it's not costing us money, so we're more neutral on it with the increases?
We're getting closer.
Okay, so we got a little bit of room still to go. Okay, good?
Yep.
Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I just realized I'm harping on the golf course a lot, but I just wanted to say that I do agree with the increases on the cemetery rates and the water rates. I think they haven't been moved for quite a while, so I think starting to move them is definitely prudent to do. But to go back to the golf course, just to explain twilight means you pay a fee and you golf as much as you possibly can until dark. So from 3 o'clock till 10 o'clock, you can get a lot of holes in. So that certainly needs to change, at least till 6 p.m. at least. One other thing I don't agree with, and I'm sure it's just a math thing here, but I don't understand the weird cents with a lot of the charges. And I'd like to see that cleaned up just to make it easier for not only the customer, but also the people charging or taking the money for that. So for example, on page 116, the power cart rentals, the driving range balls, $10.74. That doesn't make any sense to me. Let's make it $11 or $10.99 if we want to get fancy. $4.56 for a pull cart. To be honest, we haven't invested in any pull carts in a very long time, so the ones that we do have down there are in really bad shape, and they're usually just given out for free. So until we start investing in pull carts, I don't see a reason to even charge for that. But I don't agree with the weird sense, and I'm sure it's just adding 20% onto the fees. But I certainly would like to see that cleaned up to the nearest dollar at least, or a reasonable dollar as well. So,
Ms. Scott?
The reason for the weird sense is so that when we add on GST, it comes out to a nice round number. But that doesn't mean we can't have a look at this and make sure that the 20% that we added when we put on the GST still comes out to a nice round number.
gotcha.
Follow up?
Yes, please. I got one more. The sale of advertising, I don't agree with increasing. We don't have any advertising down there, and we're really missing the boat on this. If you go to our prime competitor, Farmington, every single bench has got a different company name on it. Every single sign on every hole has got a different company name on it. Every single piece of decoration that is on that golf course has got a sponsorship. We don't have any down there yet, so increasing the cost of it doesn't make sense until we start to see some advertising down there. And we're really missing the boat on this. I think we need to advertise this more and really take advantage of the opportunity of revenue that we have to collect down there. So I really don't agree with increasing those costs because we haven't attracted any advertising yet.
Ms. Scott, if we could just, so I have it marked too, I had it started, just hadn't brought it forward, so I think Councilor Bertrand. Can we just get maybe some information from staff? The last time we've seen any advertising money brought in from the golf course in regards to the sale of advertising, the last time it was advertised, and then why was it increased?
I will ask the Director of Community Services to provide council with that information.
Thanks, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. I don't recollect last time we had advertised there. I just want to answer a few things that you guys are talking about. There was a bunch of questions about the golf course here. Hopefully it's okay. In regards to the thermostat, yes, there was an issue there before where it was really high. So we fixed it. Now it's just a temperature that it's high enough to not freeze the carts. So we locked in everything. It's good there. In terms of the marshal, there were discussions last year to have a marshal. We don't have that position. Yes, we do use the staff that's on shift to monitor and make sure everything goes well. But yeah, we will be open to, if that's the direction of council, to implement a marshal position there.
Thank you. Ms. Scott, can we get clarity on that? The last time we had advertising, sounds like we're not sure. The last time we advertised that we have a sale of advertising policy for the golf course, and then why did we increase it? Or why are we looking to increase it?
The Director of Community Services, if he can answer when the last time we advertised that we were looking for sponsorships and why we've decided to increase it at this time.
Scott, Mayor and Council, thank you. Yeah, I don't recollect. It's probably before my time that was advertised.
And just why are we looking to increase this amount? And I know you probably have to go to staff, but my comment would be, and I have it, the same as Councilor Bertrand, is if we haven't seen any money come in from businesses or organizations to advertise down on our golf course, why would we look to increase it? To me, we want to try and gain some income. One, we should probably start advertising that we do. We do a great job advertising the in-ice sponsorships available at the ice rink. But we don't do anything for the summertime. So me, I don't understand why we would look at, the staff's looking for an increase when we haven't seen anybody spend money to advertise with us there yet.
Right, so again, I'll ask the Director of Community Services if he can provide information on where the need for the increase in the advertising came from.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Mayor and Council, we just did a 20% average for the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you again, Councillor Bertrand, for more information on how things run around here on our golf course. I now understand why the twilight fee is what it is and why it is so early. Is that, for staff, do we have an idea of how many people take advantage of the twilight rate?
Ms. Scott.
Again, that's a question I can't answer, so I will ask the Director of Community Services if he has, if he can provide council with any estimates of how many people take advantage of the twilight fees.
Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council, that's a great question. I don't have the number. I know it has been busy, especially with the golf course closed, I believe in Dawson or Shawin, sorry. It has been really busy for us.
Thank you.
Okay, so
So
that's,
just before you go, continue, Councillor. Ms. Scott, can we make sure we mark that down to see if we can get that information for council? I think it's really important when, obviously I'd started that one as well. Twilight, 3 o'clock, wow, I know. Again, I guess I pay taxes on a pass golf membership. But the people that are buying memberships, you're better off to set as tea time at 3 o'clock and pay twilight. If we can just get the number, if we have that data. Go ahead, Councillor Hoffman.
thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate that. I should have asked that for that myself. Especially if we're busy, the model that we're talking about, especially without a marshal, that seems to get potentially rather messy. And I can imagine some of the behavior that goes on with people that are trying to crank out 36 holes in a 5-hour period is not conducive to a good time for everybody on the golf course. I think we should seriously look at following a different model for what twilight is, and whether tiering the greens fees based on the preference for the golfers. I'm fine with that too. But as far as I'm concerned, twilight is twilight. You're trying to get a round in before the sun goes down or soon after. So as far as that goes, I think I don't have a problem with the discount for a window of twilight, especially through the summertime. But this unlimited number of holes in a given day, especially if we are getting busy and we are trying to treat this more as a serious golf course, then I actually would consider eliminating the current model of twilight for an actual twilight round. So since we're sending it back, I'm not going to make a motion today, but just to keep in mind with this being sent back.
I would feel free to make motions. We can send this back, which I would like to, because I think we need more information, especially with some other select golf courses. Taylor owns their own golf course. I think it's a primary. Yes, it's 18 holes. Don't take me wrong. It's 18 holes. That we can still use the average out of there are their golf course, even though it's tough to use the one, I'll be honest, from Lake Point, it's a private course. And it's, I mean, you get an opportunity to go look at it. So I think we can do motions, especially with that, so staff will capture that. It'll automatically come back, Councillor Hoffman. I don't think that's wrong, even though, I mean, I plan on deferring the whole report. But. Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I would like to move that the current method of twilight be eliminated and replaced with a window of 1 hour and 45 minutes before sundown. Any green fees during that time be discounted to a twilight rate, which I believe we said was discounted at 20%.
Okay, seconder on the motion, Councillor Bertrand. Discussion. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not against changing the twilight hours. It makes sense. My only comment is if we give a specific time to versus sundown, I mean, it's 7 minutes different every day, right? Like, we're okay with that? Seems like it might be a challenge to keep track of every single day. You know, I'd prefer just to have like a base time. Seems like it'd be easier for staff versus checking when sundown is today, minus 145. Thanks.
Yeah, I got myself and then Councillor Hoffman. Yeah, it's not that I'm against the changes. I think, to me, the change should be just send it back to staff for them to come back with an idea. They may say it's 3 hours and this is why, because of their last time the last time the carts go out. Here's the time the cart goes out. So this is when we're going to implement that twilight 30 minutes before the last time, so that they're back in time before off shift. So sending it back to staff, that they have more understanding than I do of what time of in May and then in June and then in July and then August and so on. What time that they make the golf carts be the last time they're out? Like some are 7:30. After 7:30, they don't let any more people go out with golf, like rented carts. So if we send it to staff, I think they'd have a better idea. So that's the only thing I would recommend. But I mean, I definitely think we need to change it, Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. I'm going by my memory of what twilight was. And in the end, if there are other considerations like that, I have no problem modifying or even defeating this and sending it back to staff. But the idea of twilight is a sort of accessibility for those where golfing is expensive, that you have a discount, later, usually open time of day, and they do so. And it was, Councillor Norbury, day to day, that what the twilight hours were, you would call in, you'd ask for twilight, and they say twilight starts at X and ends at Y, and you take one of those tee times. So I don't think it would add much to staff, but if staff is of course allowed to disagree and say that that would be onerous, but that's where the recommendation came from, that basically if our course takes about an hour and a half, that we have 4 or 5 slots for a cheaper golfing throughout the summer.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Bertrand and Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor. So with twilight, we're charging a little bit more than the 9-hole fees. So I think an hour and 45 is just enough time to finish 9 holes if there's nobody in front of you. So I don't think that's enough time. So I'd like to propose a friendly amendment, if
No
possible.
friendly amendments. Amendment, though.
Okay.
I'll take an amendment, but not a friendly one.
This is my first one, so I wanted to make it cordial. So I'd like to amend the motion of the timeline of 3 hours before Pro Shop closes.
Okay, seconder on the amendment. Councillor Hoffman. Discussion on the amendment first. Okay. Councillor Julik.
I think after listening to Mayor Kakauka, I think this just needs to go back to staff because maybe it's something we just take out altogether. Like it's more monitoring, it's more all the things. I think when Mayor Kakauka asked for the possibility of getting the information about how often it's used, then maybe we focus more on it. I think at this point though, for me, the twilight fee would be, I would rather see it be something less because I'm coming in at 8 o'clock and I might get a round of golf in or not. So then I get a discounted rate because I may or may not get my 9 holes in depending how busy the course is or how dark it is, all those kind of things. I would rather see us go to something like that than having something where you get unlimited amount, or we just don't have it at all. This is the first time I've ever heard of a twilight golf fee, to be honest. So I'm going to vote against them, but only for that reason. I think staff has a better idea of what this looks like, and then they can come back to us with some suggestions.
Yeah, just make a comment before I go to Councillor Noxana. Just on this, I actually think it gives direction to staff, but also staff will have stuff in background. So I really think, we're giving clear direction that we want something looked at here. We've asked if they have the numbers of track. I'm assuming we will just because of how the computer systems work down there. But this gives, this is the correct way I do it. And in my own beliefs, yes, we're giving clear direction, 3 hours is the amendment. Once, if the amendment passes, we'll go back to the regular motion. But it still gives staff the right to add their background. Hey, I don't know if council thought about it, but here's the criteria. And maybe we do, like you said. Maybe they say, you know, Twilight, nobody offers it, and I think we should stop. I mean, I haven't seen Twilight for decades, but. Councillor Knox-Allen and then Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you. Well, I wasn't in favor of the original motion. I am in favor of it with the amendment because I.
So you're in favor of the amendment at this
I'm in
time?
favor of the amendment because it gives that set time for when it would happen. Being just an hour and 45 minutes before sundown, it's going to change every single day, and it's going to cause, in my opinion, more confusion for staff at the end and golfers and people coming in, just trying to figure out when they can take advantage of this really great rate. If it's the 3 hours before Pro Shop closes, whatever time the Pro Shop closes, it's going to be a set, steady thing from day to day, and it gives some continuity for users.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the whole purpose of Twilight is to try and get in 18 holes before the sun goes down. That's why the price is a little bit more than the 9 holes, but it's actually lower than the 18-hole charge. So you really want to try and give enough time to have a golfer try to get their 18 holes in before the sun goes down. That's the whole purpose of Twilight. And then if it is dead out there and they're able to get more than 18 holes, then it's a bonus for them. And that's really the purpose of a Twilight charge.
Thank you. Okay, going to call the question on the amendment. All in favor on the amendment? Carried. Any more discussion on the amended motion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. 5-minute break. Sorry, I need to stand. Sorry for cutting everybody off. Anything else in regards to some direction of staff? No, because I'll put a motion to defer it eventually. Just on page 114, I know we've talked about increase when we talk golf cart, we talk water increase, cemetery increase. There's other things in regards to children's program, programs, contractor programs. I'm just curious, Ms. Scott, have we looked at any kind of increase with when we see the cost of our stuff being increased? So whether that's a pumpkin patch or other things that the municipality puts on that sees the increase coming because of the costs, is us more to put it on or buy the products? Have we looked at any of that in regards to fees and charges?
So again, that is something that falls under the Department of Community Services, so I'll ask the Director of Community Services to provide council with that information.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Mayor and council, we look at, in terms of kids membership programs, events, we compare it to Chatwin, which is kind of similar facilities that we have. So, and it's pretty compared to what we have, so that's why we did increase.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for pointing that out there. Programs, We Love Kids Day sticks out to me. You know, I had that opportunity to send my kids to that day. It was a fantastic program. This was 16, 17 years ago. The price hasn't changed since then. You know, as a parent, I really appreciated, especially having to work all day, that I really appreciated the fact that my child was at a program at the community center. I knew where they were. I knew they were being looked after. But $4 a day for childcare is incredibly low. I think we really need to look at these prices here and have some modest increases. I mean, it hasn't changed in 20 years, so I think even with inflation, I think we can certainly increase those as well. I look at, you know, $10 a day childcare we're striving for throughout the province, and we're offering it for $4 on We Love Kids Day. So it's very affordable. It's fantastic program, but I think it needs to be increased.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I brought it forward because I just want to have this conversation. It comes up, and I think this gives an opportunity when it comes forward. And I appreciate from staff side talking about how they're looking at going to be bringing this back every year. But as you see, you know, everything seems to be. I mean, obviously there's an increase. Anything we do, there's an increase. Whether and I mean, obviously there's pizza parties, the movie nights, there We Love Kids Days. There's a pumpkin patch. Stuff like that, but listening from staff, I mean, like, you know, Ms. Scott, I mean, my understanding, and if you can just correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like staff had checked with Chatwin. It sounds like they offer the same programs at the same rates. I just want to make sure that I've heard that correct, that we've checked into it. They're offering the We Love Kids Day, which includes the lunch, the activities, whether it's 3 activities or 4 activities. It probably depends if the ice is in or the ice is out, is my guess. That we're basing it off that.
So again, I'll ask the Director of Community Services to provide that information about what comparisons were included.
Thanks, Ms. Scott. Mayor and council. Yeah, that is correct. So we compare with Chatwin because it's kind of the same size that we have, and they're dropping fees and all those things that we offer is pretty comparable to for what they offer, right? That's how we came up with those numbers, or we didn't change anything. So.
Okay. May I? Can you tell me, do they offer We Love Kids Day, and they're $3 for 3 activities, and they're $4 for 4 activities? I'm assuming Halloween, where it states $5, that's the pumpkin patch. I'm just assuming Chatwin offers that, and they're $5.
Yeah, so when my staff came up with the numbers, right, that's what they did the research, and that the information I was giving. So.
Okay, I appreciate it. No, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Like I said, I brought it forward to have that discussion, but if we have other communities that are able to do it, I mean, to me, it's not I'm not trying to cut you off. To me, it's not always about being revenue neutral on everything we do in this community. I think we seem to give, we give back. I mean, I think it's very important to have a community that we care about, our children are involved, our youth are involved and engaged. And to me, when I see that, and I brought it up because, I mean, I've been here 18 years and it hasn't changed, so. That's why I brought it up, but to hear that we, other municipalities are doing it, and I don't think it's wrong to talk about it, but I also think it gives us, in my opinion, I'm not looking to change it, hearing the information from staff, it gives me a reason to say why I wasn't looking to see an increase, because other communities were reached out to, they're doing the same thing, so why can't we offer the same thing for our children and our youth within our own community? So I appreciate that from staff. Councillor Knoxdown and Councillor Julik.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that Chetwynd does it for a similar rate. They might be looking at us at the same time and saying, should we increase? Oh, you guys are sitting at the same. So I think if we wanted to up them by $1 or $2, hearing that they haven't changed for probably 20 years, I think that we would probably be okay doing that. It just comes down to what we want to offer youth in our community and at what rate. I think they'll still be utilized if we were to charge $5 a child compared to $4 a child. But how much of an increase over how much time do we want to balance?
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I guess once you talked about the passes, then I got thinking, well, where's the swimming, like the cost? So if I can clarify, that would be the facility passes that are on page 112. And then, so if I'm an adult, I can go to the pool and the gym for $5, just to clarify, is that correct?
No, I wouldn't think so. There's two different rates there. Single facility,
Oh, single and then combo.
and then
Okay,
there's
the combo.
passes, and then there's
Yep.
combo.
I read it
But I'll
wrong.
just get clarity, because I don't want to be wrong. 'Cause I could be.
Yeah, I read it wrong.
Miss Scott, can we just get the price for one adult to go swimming and then one adult to go to the gym?
For one time, a
One
one-time
time.
use. Yes,
So to me, it seems like it's $452.
plus GST, yes.
Yeah.
And so again, that's why there's the weird sense.
Yeah. And then same with the combo, to do two would be $51.19
That's for 10
for the
passes.
10 passes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense?
Yep.
Good. Follow up? Anything?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else from council? Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. I'll just weigh in just on the child program aspect. I think moderate increases is reasonable. Councillor Noxana made a good point regarding, maybe they're looking at us thinking, no, they're not going to change because Temple Ridge hasn't changed. But yeah, $4 for an entire day of We Love Kids Day is a heck of a bargain. I don't think it's fair to compare to childcare rates as they are capped. They are receiving subsidies. Yeah, so anyways, I'd be okay if we did a minor increases to these rates. Thanks.
I would think staff's going to look for clear direction for increases. We're just looking like, if we want to do, say, look at 20% and bring it back to us, whatever the number is, I don't want to put it into any council that wants to make a motion. But I think if we leave it up to staff, just my personal opinion, we'll see what's in front of us, because staff has sent this in front of us, because they've reached out to other communities, and I'm not disagreeing with either one of your comments that maybe Chetwynd's waiting for us to move, but I made a comment that it doesn't seem like, staff has reached out. I think I've stated where I would stand. I mean, to me, it seems like we're giving back to our youth and that. But Ms. Scott, I'm just thinking that staff would be looking for clear direction if we're looking at an increase.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, anybody from council want to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Hoffman.
Then I would, right now it's 3 for a day that's 3 events and 4 for a day that's 4 events. Is that
Yeah, that's what it states on. Yeah.
And I would suggest that we, whatever the rate has to be with tax, that we have $5 a day this year for the kids' days, and we can revisit to see if there's anything, if we want to increase it again next year. So the motion is for a $5 inclusive rate daily for kids' days.
Yeah, but the We Love Kids Day, two different options, 3 events.
And I'm just saying one flat rate, that if
One
we're
flat
doing
rate,
kids'
okay.
rate, that we just do a $5 rate on kids' days. You make it easy for a blue bill to show up, and we're good.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Discussion, Councillor Julik, and then Councillor Noxana.
I think that we've been doing it one way for a pretty long time, and I think about when I sent my kids, for example, when they were younger, the youngest one couldn't go to swimming because they were too young, so the 2 older ones could go, but the younger one couldn't, and so then I see staff being inundated by, well, why do I have to pay $5 for all 3 if they're not doing all the same things? just putting it out there. I don't know that I have a strong opinion one way or the other, because I agree, $5 for the day, whether or not you're doing 1 or 10 or whatever activity seems fine. Just putting it out there, I feel like we might be adding more work to the staff.
Councillor Knox.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the motion on the floor. I think $5, even if you weren't swimming or skating or whatever activity, it's still a heck of a deal for childcare. I believe they provide food, like a lunch of some sort, and a movie, and the kids are hanging out with their friends. Like, it's a structured activity day with access into the skating rink when it's open, the pool, things like that. So definitely in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I mean, I definitely know, in my experience, some kids may have supposed to go skating or supposed to go swimming, but they ended up in the library instead. So parents are paying for 4 activities, they're getting 3. $5 is simple, it's easy. Still a heck of a bargain. You send your kid down to the community center for $5 and they're entertained for the day. I'm in favor, thanks.
Thanks. And just so everybody's aware, it's flat rate for children's programs. It's not taxed, so it makes it easy. Okay, any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Mayor Kakalka is opposed. Motion carries. Okay, anything else you want to give direction before I defer it? Or hope to defer it? Ms. Scott, just getting clarity that we've checked in regards to swimming passes, all that other information within the region that have swimming pools. So Dawson Creek, or Chetwynd's not the only one that has a swimming pool. There's swimming pools in Dawson Creek, Fort St. John. I'd say Taylor, but I've been swimming there. I just want to make sure that we did with the golf course. It seemed like we went regionally. That we're doing the same thing when this is coming forward as the fees and charges bylaw. That we capture everything that we're trying to capture. Because to me, we used regionally. I just want to make sure that we did the same thing for that.
So again, I'll ask the Director of Community Services so he can provide council with the information about which communities were consulted on swimming fees.
Thanks, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. For the programs for the kids, we compare with Chetwynd because it's the same size, same community center kind of size. If council decides, yeah, we can go ahead and look for bigger centers like Dawson, Fort St. John. We can do that for sure, just to compare the prices, like we did with the golf course.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I am going to put a motion on the floor to defer the fees and charges bylaw for staff to get the information that council has asked for. Take a seconder. Councillor Julik, discussion. Make a couple comments. Ms. Scott, if you need it in a motion, please let me know. Again, I want to make sure that if we are doing the golf course regionally, that when it comes to swimming, public skating, gym access, all that we're looking at it within the region, that have it owned by the municipality. So if the gym is not owned by the city of Dawson Creek, to me, having a private gym tell me what they charge, not interested in that. Again, I'm not looking to, I am personally, I mean, if council has a different, please weigh in, because I want to make sure we get the right information for all of us. I am personally not looking to be revenue general or neutral on the community center. It's not what I'm looking for, but I want to make sure that staff is working so hard and bringing this stuff forward to get it in front of council to make sure we're making the right decision going forward for 2026, and then obviously it'll go forward for 2027 when it comes back, that we have the right information as we start this process. My opinion, if we don't have the right information as this process starts for 2026, it will make it very hard in 2027 when it comes back again, because the numbers won't be correct or right from the previous year. Do you need a motion to make sure we do that?
No, I don't need a motion for that.
Okay. Discussion in regards to the deferral, Councillor Hoffman.
The comments on the deferral, yes. I'm more than happy to have that information in front of me. I always like more information rather than less. But as far as the same process for setting rates with a golf course versus a swimming pool, I don't think that we should be bound by that at all. As a community, we make our priorities and we support and the revenue neutralness on one thing, or if we're aggregately looking to be revenue neutral, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's part of our job. But if we choose to subsidize the pool and charge more for the golf course, that's a decision we make as 7 individuals. So I'm not sure why the focus on the same process for each of the facilities that we're talking about here. So I was hoping you can clear that up for me.
Yeah, I'll answer that. So it actually gives us the true numbers as we move forward. We might not adjust our swimming or our weight room or our ice usage or for public skating. But in 2027, when this comes forward again it could be to this council, it could be before the election. We already had those numbers. We had the true numbers starting off for going into 2026. So having those true numbers in 2025 to move forward with either increase, leaving them, those numbers will be set for going into 2027 when they come forward to whatever council's in place. I think it just gives us a true starting point when we see it in the report. To me, not having the information from, and I use the region because to me that's where we're situated, to get it from Prince George or Kamloops doesn't make sense to me, but within the region. It's not about increasing the swimming pool usage for single or passes or membership for the year. It sees where we sit. I'll be honest, if we're $238 for a single child to go swimming and then $9 in another place, it might be something this council needs to look at. I'm not saying we're gonna, might be. I guess gives us the true numbers, the true information is all I was looking for.
Okay, no, thank you for that. As far as information goes, I'm always happy for more, but as far as creating a baseline, are we checking it every year to see what another council somewhere else has changed the rates on? Like, I think we have our own facilities costs, we have our own revenues from various facilities. I think I'm happy to have the information. I do think it gives us a comparison point, but are you planning, or are you imagining that it's reset every year based on, say, 5 towns, the local, or is that just, because I just see it being knocked off out of whack the next year or the year after. So that's why I'm not sure why the priority on it.
Yeah, I don't have a priority. It gives us a baseline, so when stock goes and does this next year, they're probably gonna use the same process. That would be my guess. They're gonna use the same process. So again, whenever this comes forward to any council, to have the same process moving forward. You know, like, again, we looked at child programs haven't moved up. I say 18 years, so I've been here. Councilor Bertrand said 16 years with his children. It just gives that baseline for moving it forward. And I don't disagree when you talk about running some of our municipality functions, we're different costs for running compared to other municipalities. Just gives you a baseline as always. I just think it helps, like the information. I'm not saying we do anything with it. It just gives it to us. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, and I think for me, I like the regional pricing just to kind of give me a feel for where we are and what you can compare to. Like when you look at Dawson's pool versus our pool, like, and depending on the pricing, like, so I think that gives us a bit of a feel. I think ideally what a person usually does when you're costing something is you figure out what your costs are, and then what kind of a gap do you want in there? Like, do you want to be making money? Do you want to be cost neutral, whatever? And I don't know that that's a possible number that we can get, like a true number, like, because the pool isn't just the pool. The pool's part of the community center and all of that stuff. So for me, I don't mind looking at the regional pricing just to see kind of where we are. Like, so for me, I just use it as a comparison. I absolutely hear what you're saying though, like I do, but I do actually like the idea of having some kind of a number to get a true feel for where we're at comparatively, just like maybe like Mayor Kauka said, so we charge $230 and somebody else is charging $9 and their pool sucks. You know, that doesn't mean because we've got pretty great facilities, but then at least we know what we're getting into. Because I'm like you, I think that part of what attracts people to Tumbler Ridge is the low cost of our facilities.
Agreed. Before I call the question on this motion, Ms. Scott, does this affect the water and sewer, or should we separate that water and sewer from here for the budget process? I was just thinking when I was, obviously I was flipping, now I'm thinking of in regards to Schedule I and then the sewer, do we maybe, and Jay, pull that out of this deferral? Same with the cemetery. I don't think that was an issue with council. I believe it, to me, it's the golf course and the community center.
I don't think we should be amending parts of the bylaw separately. I think if it comes down to, in order to try and get this in place for 2026, it may require a special meeting, but I would not recommend approving parts of it separately.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't holding staff up on those two. I appreciate it. Okay, going to call the question on the deferral. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to I just want to make sure I'm actually on the right page here, guys. Sorry. Yep. Policy Piers 3 leave policy report dated November 10th, 2025 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding Policy Pier 3 leave policy. Recommendation. The council receives this report for discussion. Seconder. Councillor Julik, all in favor? Carried. Ms. Scott, can you just give an overview? So I guess before we start, this came forward in regards to having a conversation with Ms. Scott, and to me, it seems like we have two different ways of treating staff. Maybe three different ways, actually. Salary, non-union, and union, I think. Am I right? Salary, I think that's how it works. There's three different ways that we're treating sick days and stuff like that in regards to staff. And I think we can just maybe, be a little bit more clear on how we want to handle, can't do anything about unionized, but when it comes to non-unionized, so salary, and then just non-unionized employees that aren't salary, they're treated differently. Some are paid something different compared to the others. But Ms. Scott and I were talking about it. That's why you see this in front of you. Ms. Scott?
I'm, as per a significant amount of District of Tumbler Ridge policies, I believe this one could use some clarification. There is separate wording. One talks about taking a leave of absence and that being treated as sick leave, or it talks about taking a leave of absence and that being treated as a family responsibility. There's definitely different definitions in terms of what family responsibility leave is. And it doesn't talk about, the policy doesn't assign any max amount of sick leave for exempt staff, management or non-management. However, there is different wording in everybody's employment contracts that are somewhat different. So I think going forward, just a clear policy that we can apply to everybody the same.
Thank you for that. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. I think the bar to start with is whatever the current collective agreement is for, the exempt staff and non-unionized staff. I think that'd be a start there. It looks like there's definitely a discrepancy in regards to our exempt staff, managers, stuff like that. They're not getting what the union is, so I think at least that would be the bar, and I would be in favor of just having language that reflects, whatever the current union agreement would be. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Councillor Bertrand and Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to staff for this information. I wasn't aware of this at all, so it's definitely an issue that we need to rectify. I disagree with following the union contract because union contracts are usually higher than Employment Standard Act requirements. So I would be more in favor of being in line with Employment Standard Act for salaried and non-union. There's a reason people join a union. It's for added benefit, and they pay for that added benefit. So usually the benefits that they receive are higher than minimum standards in the Employment Act. So I'd be more in favor of following the Employment Standard Act in regards to this policy.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I guess I'm looking for a little bit of clarification. I thought that we had exempt staff and unionized staff, and that was it.
And salary. So there is. So yeah. So
Is salary
So we have
exempt?
unionized. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Salary.
So salary is
exempt,
just-
exempt staff. So non-unionized.
All right. I agree with Councillor Bertrand. I think that we have to do the absolute bare minimum for sure, starting with exempt staff, which is all, because the Labor Act's always trumping the collective agreement. If the collective agreement, if for some reason they bargained something that was less than employment standards, you would still have to bump them up to whatever the Employment Standards Act is the way I understand things. So for me, I'm happy to start there. I think that I would want to hear more around exempt staff. Like what kind of policy are we following? Like if the policy is only like what we have here, like it's 9 years old, almost 10 years old. So I feel like it needs to come back with what we just did with the bylaw, with the red, like how that was laid out was really good. Because I just feel like some of this information probably is not current. Even like to see that a pallbearer, you can get a half a day off without loss of pay, but if, like, I just think that that's almost getting into the weeds, but I would rather see the whole policy come back, because I'm assuming that right now we're following the Employment Standards Act for exempt staff anyways, and what you're looking for, what I'm understanding. Well, but
We're following this policy today, not the act. This is what's been put into play, besides what may or may not be within employee agreements. So Ms. Scott mentioned that, so I don't know what's in those. I mean, those are Ms. Scott's employees.
yeah,
So when they sign them, some may sign, and I don't want to get into, hypothetical, so I'm not going to really do it. There may be different things offered, whether it comes to vacation time or sick time.
yeah,
But this here is what they're following.
yeah. Well, it says that this is what the Employment Standard Act is, and then when I go back down here, I feel like it's less than, which we couldn't be doing.
Well, they don't get, there's no amount of sick days they don't get. So they can get, there's no cutoff on sick days for exempts.
That they
Salary, sorry.
paid sick days?
Paid sick days, my understanding. Ms. Scott, please correct me. I try not to leave your mic on because I guess it plays with the cameras.
Oh, gotcha.
They can use
I'm
0 days,
obviously
or they
not-
could use 10 or 15 days, or they use no days, but so unionized get paid for the days that they don't use.
Yes.
The exempt don't. So it's.
Yeah, no, I get that part. And so I'm just thinking, like, when I read this, I feel like the ESA says 5 paid sick days and 3 unpaid per calendar year. And that there's no, these are the minimum standards, whereas union staff, they just get paid out any unused sick times, whereas exempt staff does not.
Yeah, and in regards to salary, not trying to cut you off, there's no, they can use as many days as they want for sick days. I mean, Ms. Scott had done a very good job in regards to the background. On, the average, it was 2.5, I'm trying to remember off memory, 2.5 in 2024 and 2 in 2025. That's the average of sick days used by exempt staff. It's on the background in regards to it, so I think that's where the difference is. There's exempt staff, and then there's exempt salary, non-unionized. Unionized, and there's.
Yeah, no, that, and I get exempted, like, so for
Yep.
me, I feel like there's exempt and there's unionized, but I'm still not seeing where exempt staff has unlimited amount of sick days. Like, where am I, like, I'm obviously reading over it instead of actually reading it. Yes, no?
I was gonna find it, sorry, I
Okay.
don't know exactly where it is. Let me go to
'Cause I've
Councillor
read the
Hoffman.
same paragraph
Ms.
about
Scott,
5
can you tell me
times.
where it is in the paragraph? Sorry, I know I had it.
Okay,
3 consecutive.
There is nothing in the policy. that
Nothing,
caps
I know you've
days.
worded it somewhere, it says there's nothing in the policy that states, review current policy regarding sick days for exempt staff. Thank you.
So the policy does not specify how many paid sick days salaried employees are entitled.
Thanks, Councillor Hoffman. Find it?
yeah, like, I saw that, but there was no amount, that's why I'm like, so there's no cap, but it doesn't sound like there's a minimum, so people can just
There's
take
no
off.
cap. There would be no minimum because there's no cap on there.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So right now, when an employee says that they're sick, they can take 300, well, let's say 20 sick days a year and get paid for 20 sick days a year, exempt staff?
If you had a doctor's note to support that, yes.
Well, that sounds like a headache too. Yeah, it sounds like this just needs a whole lot of,
Okay, Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. As far as policy goes, I think the ESA is the standard, and that's what we should put in policy. As far as managing this, I think our CAO is our point of contact, and that her discretion is what I would want to leave in this sort of case. And I'm not married to ESA, as it's just the standard. I don't think we have to do the minimum. But as far as fixing this loophole, seems to be something that we should look at doing sooner rather than later. I'd be in favor as of right now, putting the ESA and investigating it further. Like, if I'm going to do anything more than the ESA, I want to have the numbers of what it costs, and I appreciate the usage for the last 2 years. That was, in fact, very helpful to get a sense of what's being used. But, yeah, I don't see any other, do you have something to say, Mayor, before I make a motion?
No, I can make it in your motion. Might change the concept of the vote. That's fine.
Okay, so.
Go ahead. I'm not going to stop you from motion.
Okay, so in the interest of closing this loophole, I move that for non-union staff, that the ESA is the current policy until further notice.
Seconder? Councillor Bertrand, discussion? I'm going to make a couple comments. Appreciate the motion. I think this should just be sent back, right back to Ms. Scott. Appreciate it, read it. I mean, we could have put it for information and not discuss this report tonight with no direction given back to Ms. Scott. I think Ms. Scott should come forward with a policy that, to me, has the language changes that she believes is needed for this policy for the staff that she oversees. In the same aspect, when I careful how I word this here. So I look at, I don't want to get too, and get, don't say that in an open. Yeah, so I look at the union agreement, QP's agreement, it's not in front of me, but I'm aware of it, it's in the report. If I don't use my sick days, I get paid for them. We give a lot of things to the unionized employees of the municipality. Nothing wrong, they work and they work very hard, which is great. We're not doing the same, we're not supporting the same when it comes to non-unionized employees in my mind. So we have a report here that gives us an average of how many sick days were used by exempt staff. Pretty good. Are we allowed to see the same information for unionized employees, Ms. Scott?
Yes, because it would not specify specific employee details, so yes.
Would that number be higher or lower, average?
I don't know. I couldn't give you that right now.
Okay. So my comment will change a bit because I don't have the number. But to me, when I see the average used by exempt staff, non-unionized, to me, I think we should be looking at what we give the union employees. We pay out if our union, or sorry, not ours, Ms. Scott's unionized employees don't use their sick days, they're paid out. We don't do the same thing to our non-unionized staff. And I believe, and salaried employees is my biggest, well, I shouldn't say my biggest concern, they're all a concern. When we, to me, have Ms. Scott's staff that sit in meetings, budgets, other stuff that we call emergency meetings for, and staff have to be in the room. Those individuals are only allowed to bank so much time. And when I see an average two days, an average is 2 days for sick time for exempt employees, to me, we should be looking at a payout option. If we say we're going to do the same thing as union with a collective agreement, it's 10 paid sick days. If an employee on the exempt side uses 2, they're paid out 8. I don't think that's anything wrong with that. I'd like to see what the budget implications of it are, and that's why, to me, this should be sent back to Ms. Scott as she's brought it forward, saying, hey, listen, the language isn't very good in this report. That was last done in 2016. We need to update it into the 2020s, 2025, 2026, and get it moving forward. We're missing a lot of language in here when I read it. You know, like Councillor Julik, you brought it up, oh, if I'm a pallbearer, I get a half a day off with pay. But I can't mix that with also having to attend that it's somebody that's in my family that passed away, who I get a full day for, but can't double dip and get an extra half a day be the pallbearer. Kind of weird language in there. To me, it should be just there. What's expected, or what Ms. Scott staff that are exempt would get. Whether that's sick days, funeral days, family days. You know, it's talked about it fairly thoroughly within the collective agreement. To me, I understand your motion, Councillor Hoffman, and at this time, I think we should just be sending it back to Ms. Scott to let her have the, and I understand we're in a bit of a limbo. The bit of the limbo would follow this policy for now for sick days. If Ms. Scott and I had not talked about how's this look and what's it work, this still wouldn't be in front of us. That's how this came forward. We had a conversation because, you know, something arose, and I'm like, well, how does that work for you? I'll tell them, I'm like, oh, we got to get that in front of council. Like, it's not since 2016. And she said it right in her office. Yeah, the language is really weird in it too, and we read it. So I think it gives an opportunity for Ms. Scott to have a look at it, make some changes, maybe some suggestions. And Councillor Hoffman, I'll be honest with you, it might be your motion, But having Ms. Scott put that forward and what she thinks best for her employees, keeping the realm of healthy workplace and stuff like that, I think, to me, it's important. You know, I look at the culture that's been trying to be changed within the corporation, and sending this back to Ms. Scott, to me, gives the right opportunity for her to go through it and give suggestions to council. Even though understanding that your motion, let's just go to the basic for now and then do it. I think we're doing injustice. That's my opinion, so I won't support the motion that's on the floor. Councilor Norbury and then Councilor Jilek.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to support the motion on the floor. It just because, I'm sorry, I don't believe that we're a minimum standards organization. Can I get just guess what percentage of our organization is unionized in terms of workforce?
Oh, I don't want to guess.
80%, 90?
You're probably close. I said 85, but Ms. Scott, do you have that percentage?
I don't have that percentage, but I mean, you're probably close. with that guess.
Yeah, thank you. And the point I'm trying to illuminate is we have 90% of our workforce that gets 10 paid sick days and 5 entitled days, and the people that are overseeing all of these employees are told that they get the bare minimum. I just don't see that's fair. You know, to me, I can appreciate, ideologies when we're thinking about these things. You know, we want to get to minimum standards, fair. For me, it comes back to what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Right now, if we have 90% of our employees getting one thing and then the small amount that aren't, I see an inequality there. I just don't think it's fair. So I'm not against sending this back to staff, but for me, we also need to think about fairness across the organization, and this isn't fair to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Juke and then Councillor Hoffman.
And I say this knowing that I maybe don't fully understand all of what's in this report. My concern is, one, if we have not been paying our exempt staff at the employment standards minimum, we need to adjust that because we have to maintain at least that minimum.
Okay, for sure. That's been done.
Am I yelling?
No. I just want you to know that minimum, we're due over,
Okay.
Today we're doing, this policy allows more than what the minimum is through that policy.
Just because there's no specific numbers in there, I just want to be clear on that.
No, I just want to make sure you knew that. We're definitely over the minimum.
Okay, good. The other thing for me is I would rather have a report come back from with my understanding of unionized and exempt staff is there's different benefits to either role. So like, are all of our exempt staff, do they all sign a contract? If they do sign a contract, are some of those employment standards within that contract? Do we not have a contract for everybody? Like, I would want to have a better idea of what exempt staff looks like and how we monitor each one. Like, if it's casual employment, are they unionized or are they not unionized? Because I think that there's different pieces in there where if you're negotiating your contract, maybe sick days is someplace that you can negotiate. So I don't know what it looks like on the back end of what HR has to deal with. And maybe this is something that we look at when we have somebody new in HR because we want to make sure that we're ticking all the boxes and that we're not like overdoing what we need. Because to me, I think that there's still different benefits within being an exempt staff versus being a unionized staff member. And so that would be the information I would be looking for coming back. And with it being a 10-year-old policy, I just think you got to start from scratch. So for me, I'd rather see it come back with like some meat in it, and maybe we put it off until we have a new HR person, because maybe then it's not quite as hard for staff.
Yeah, thank you for that. Before I go to Councillor Hoffman, we do have HR. Ms. Scott?
No, I just meant new director.
No, we don't have a director. We might be an HR manager that's been advertised. No, that's been advertised, but at this point, Ms. Scott is our HR coordinator. So we do have one if we give this policy back to her. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. And for the record, there isn't much that you said that I disagree with. I do think it needs to be sent back for the specific future policy. Right now, we have a gaping hole in this policy, and all this is a stopgap to fill it. We just use what's generally used by most companies and apparently also the surrounding area. That does not prejudge. It does not say it can't be the same as a union. It cannot say, like, okay, do we just do 10 days? Not sick, no notes, nothing. That's what we want. That's what we think is reasonable. They come back. Sure, I'll listen to that. Do we want a different way for how leave works or this works? Anything for me, I would love to hear what the suggestions are. I've seen different ones over the years on the structure, on what's paid versus unpaid, and what the rules are. Right now, there is literally no limit. We send it back and it takes 3 months to come. Somebody, I'm not saying anybody would, but somebody may find themselves in a situation where they are able to have unlimited sick days if we don't close that loophole. That is the extent of what the motion is about, is closing the loophole. In the meantime, I appreciate our current HR head. I think she may be in the very best position of anybody to research what staff is looking for. And the only other thing I wanted to say was the idea that you take a collective bargaining agreement and apply it to another group that is not part of the collective bargaining agreement, I will always be against. I just don't think that works. As a baseline, I'm fine with it. In the comparison, I'm fine with it. But this group of 10, 15, whatever percent of our workforce was not privy to having a representation in this collective bargaining agreement. And therefore, I don't think you can ever just slap it on and call it good. So I'm fine with comparing, I'm fine as a baseline, but there are things that go into collective bargaining, and those who are going to be subject to that contract need to be part of that process, in my mind. And I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Hoffman, I do appreciate your willingness to try to fill these gaps here, and I appreciate your boldness on the motions. But as we see the averages for 2024, it does appear that we're not being taken advantage of. So I don't feel like we need to fill this gap tonight. I do think we need to bring this back to staff to do a complete revamp and reword.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman, can you just read your motion out again, please? I'd read it, but I don't have it. I can have staff do it too, if you like.
I'm going on memory, but if staff has it written down, I'll defer, and otherwise it was straightforward of until further notice that the ESA standard be used for non-unionized employees.
Okay, that sounds pretty close. Okay, gonna call the question. All in favor? Okay, let's try that again. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Jula, Councillor Noxana, Councillor Norbury, Mayor Gallagher opposed. Motion is defeated. Put a motion on the floor that we send this back to Ms. Scott to have Ms. Scott go through it, change the language that she sees that needs to be changed within this policy, Tier 3 leave policy, and brings it back forward to council for adoption. Seconder? Councillor Noxana, discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, apologize, council, but we need to take another 5-minute break. Sorry. I just need. Order. Okay, moving on. 6.5, Admin 52, Recreation Pass Benefit Policy Review. Report dated November 10th, 2025 from the Director of Community Services and Facilities regarding Admin 52, Recreation Pass Benefit Policy Review. Recommendation. Okay, I'll put it on the floor that council receives this report for discussion. Seconder, Councilor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Anybody want to start it off? Councilor Jilek.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. What the changes are in here are what staff is comfortable with and feels that this gives them enough clarity moving forward.
Ms. Scott? As I hit every button on the thing.
Yes, with the exception of, there's been some discussion about whether or not minimum hours should be considered for healthcare staff. For the firefighters or for search and rescue, they have to be members in good standing, which means they have to attend a certain amount of meetings or practices. And should something similar apply to healthcare staff? So if a nurse is going to get a pass, she has to have a certain amount of shifts. So that is the only thing we haven't included about whether or not we should include minimums and what those minimums might look like.
Follow up?
Yeah, so to clarify again then, so if a nurse comes in and she's only here for a week, she's entitled to get the whole pass with the whole name and everything on it? Do we have something that's kind of in between, that there's so that they can still use the facilities, but we don't have to go to all the admin work?
Yeah, so I'll go to Ms. Scott in a minute. So normally when we have a Go Health nurse come in or an agency nurse and they're not just here for a week, they'll come back. Go Health is really, I won't say easy to track, but normally they hand their schedule to Northern Health. I'm willing to come back into Tunbridge 2 weeks this month, wait off 2 months, back for 2 weeks, and so on. So throughout the year they have this. My understanding, but I'll go to Ms. Scott. My understanding from Ms. Scott, there's been some comments made by staffing from the health center that there's, they feel that there's concerns that, there may be some staff that only put in 2 shifts a whole year, but get free access to all of our the full access pass. So this actually came from staff. My understanding, Ms. Scott will belly answer that, my understanding came from staff within the health authority, back to staff here, that, is there something that's ever looked at? I mean, that we have people making comments that we have, local staff, whatever, may only put one or 3 or 4 shifts in for the whole year, but get full access to this. Yeah, so that's my understanding. Ms. Scott?
We have had concerns brought forward about abusing passes.
Good?
I guess then what I would be wondering, does staff have a recommendation, or are they just looking for council to give direction?
Yeah, it'll be council give direction. Staff definitely doesn't want to get political with us. They want to stay apolitical. Makes them happier over on that side. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to minimum limits, unfortunately, these passes can be a hot topic in the community, in the health center specifically. There's a lot of people that are upset that we had to create a barrier, a minimum level to be qualified for these passes. I can appreciate that it's created some some feelings, but when it comes down to it, my intention is that this is appreciation for the people that have education in a healthcare profession, and we're rewarding that. When it comes to minimum amounts, I can appreciate that sentiment, that should somebody who's only working just during the flu clinics or working 1 day a year, should they qualify? Well, who's to say that person, because of this, doesn't think, wow, this is a great thing. Maybe I should be putting more time into it. And I might be projecting my own personal feelings because after getting enough Lions hot dogs, I want to go volunteer for the Lions. So I think I'm happy to generate that type of sentiment. Maybe, so I don't think we need to have minimum levels. If they are a qualified healthcare professional, they put in their time in Tumbler Ridge, I'm happy to reward them and say thank you and encourage them and use this as a recruitment tool. That's what it comes down to for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. The term member in good standing, I have to say I did like that term. I don't think it applies to all of these subgroups, though. I was hoping to know which of them they apply to so that I could at least separate that out.
Tumble Ridge Fire Association, Tumble Ridge Search and Rescue.
Okay, so BC Ambulance, YMCA, and RCMP are not.
Yeah, so our CMP, I mean, I'll be straightforward about that. Normally, it's full-time members or members that are going to put in an amount of time here. Same with BC Ambulance, and except there is a change or an ask here for BC Ambulance as they try to fill their car, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But right now with BC Ambulance, it is a full-time employee taking shifts in Tumble Ridge. Even pre to them being a full-time serviced ambulance service, this had to be their primary station on Kilo. So this had to be their primary station. Didn't mean they couldn't take shifts elsewhere, but this had to be primary as their station through the unit chief. But there is an ask about BC Ambulance, and I'll just talk about that after you're done, though, Councillor Hoffman.
Okay, so I accept all those, the breakdown for all those. I'm good with that. So I just would like to be clear on what the perceived issue is. Is it just in the medical center that various staff will only take a few shifts a year and yet have access all year round? Is that the core of the issue here?
But that's my understanding from staff, just talking now. Staff said they've heard back, and there's some concerns about, some, whether it's nurses, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they know positions or not, but staff that work within the facility that only work, whether it's 3 or 4 shifts, whether it's just during flu clinics that Councillor Norbert had mentioned, or is it just for something else, but they receive full access pass. So this, my understanding, I'll let Ms. Scott answer, but my understanding, listening to Councillor Julick's question, is staff has heard this back from staff there, not staff that's concerned that they're not getting one, but yet the nurses do, or the doctors do. It's concern that people are just taking the minimum or whatever. There's not even a minimum, going in and doing 1 shift or 4 shifts a whole year or whatever, just so they get passes, and not take thing. Is my understanding, but Ms. Scott.
Yes, but the concern also was not necessarily just with healthcare staff, but potentially with daycare staff as well, that casuals who fill in periodically, would they still qualify the same?
Okay, and I wasn't aware. I appreciate that. So, I mean, I was only going off the information that was asked, that Councillor Julick and Ms. Scott had talked about. So I guess obviously there's some concerns, and, maybe council needs to talk about, Councillor Hoffman, maybe we need to talk about, do we want to state that, you have to take so many shifts. I mean, at one point, I look at BC Ambulance, we put it in that this had to be on a Kilo shift before they became full-time. This had to be their primary service station. So they had to primarily put in for shifts within BC Ambulance here first, before they could take shifts elsewhere, at $2 an hour on pager before they became full-time. Obviously, the Firefighters Association just has to be within good standing, and that is decided by it doesn't state it in here, but it's by the fire chief. Tumble Ridge Search and Rescue is, again, members in good standing, and that's based off, I'm not sure what they call the charge, whether that's the president or whoever makes that decision on the Tumble Ridge Search and Rescue. But that's how that's done. They're the ones that hand in the names, or will be filling out now. It says about application forms. We'll fill those out, or have their search and rescue member that's in good standing fill it out. So they control those organizations.
No, thank you for that, and thank you, staff, for the clarification.
Oh, sorry, that was my fault. Sorry.
No worries. This is one of those, the trying to make it perfect getting in the way of the good. I think this is a good program. I do like that all of these groups are shown that appreciation of having this, and without a good way of dealing with the outliers, I'm not in a rush to change what we're doing. I am very much open to ideas, but I worry, I would rather give a few extra out than not give it to those that are in the intent. And until I hear a way of measuring that or dealing with that, I can't be in favor of changing this. I think it's too valuable of a program as it is right now.
Thank you. I got Councillor Knoxon and Councillor Bertrand, and then myself.
Thank you. I see having a minimum standard for healthcare workers would be a barrier to be able to get these passes to locum or agency staff members or workers who are here for a week. this is an incentive for them to come back. If they're only here for a week, how do we track that they haven't met the 100 hours they need, they don't get the pass? Well, we've lost them. With our current hours our clinic is open, they're not going to get 100 hours that week. Search and rescue, to be a member in good standing, I believe it is 100 hours of training or volunteering, call-outs a year. Otherwise, you're not at that level, and you're not entitled to a pass and other things. I like Councillor Hoffman's, we're not going to get it perfect. Yes, people have to work for Northern Health in our clinic and be trained in a healthcare field to be able to be eligible for the pass. When they no longer work for Northern Health, we can be made aware of that and revoke that pass then. But I would hate for a locum or an agency nurse that we desperately, desperately need right now to not get the pass. And perhaps that's the kicker that wants them or makes them want to come back. And we've lost it over just trying to get something very perfect.
Thank you. Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I understand your concerns there, Councillor Noxana, and I'm just reading through the procedure here. And with the procedure, the supervisor or employer of the qualifying groups or agencies will provide, well, this is new, but the application forms for qualifying members. So if we're receiving complaints, I guess, about some people taking advantage of it, isn't that on the onus of the supervisor or employer of the organization to not put those names forward? I do agree with minimum standards to some degree, but to me, it seems like it's the responsibility of the supervisor or employer. Am I wrong?
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I also appreciate the perfect is the enemy of the good, or whatever that saying is. I think, though, I also think that if the example is being used is that there's somebody who lives in the community for a year, but only takes 2 shifts at the clinic, then I'd like to investigate that further and see what does that look like. Because I think if we're holding the other folks to a standard, then I think we need to look at that too. Because currently, because if we're short on pharmacists, but we don't give passes to pharmacists. We're not giving them to counseling folks, and those are people that we are in need of as well. So I think that we've taken a stand on some of the positions, and so taking a stand, or not taking a stand, but putting some parameters around different staff, I don't think is a terrible thing, because we've done it in other areas. So what makes this group special? Because I'll leave it at that. Because the other thing is, what I wonder is if we have like a punch pass available for staff that are only in for a couple of days, rather than going through the whole VIP experience, they have access for a punch pass. Maybe that's an option, maybe it's not, I don't know. I think that there's some ways that we can work within that. I do believe, though, that if we're making minimum standards for everybody else, I hear the part about, like, so if we have locums and stuff come in, I'm not saying we don't give them the pass, but if it's a matter of giving them a full year, which causes, which isn't the intent of this, then maybe we look at a different alternative, and maybe that's a punch pass or something. The other question I would like to ask while I've got the mic, I don't see anywhere in here where it says immediate family that it has to be, is it assumed that it's 18 years and under or 19 years and under immediate family for the other people? I just see immediate family.
Front page under B, second for definitions. Immediate family
Oh,
member
there it is.
includes a
Perfect.
spouse or
Thanks.
comma.
I missed that. So that's where I'm at with it. I guess I would definitely love to give staff some more solid direction in that. I believe if we have incidences where somebody's using a pass for a year but only works 2 shifts at the clinic, or even 6 shifts at the clinic, maybe we get around that by giving them a punch pass. I don't know, because the intent is definitely not being honored in that respect then.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. my caution comes towards just dealing with maybe the critical minority. We're hearing a complaint, an unnamed complaint from the organization. Is this actually from the organization? Do we have something in writing saying that? And please give us a definition. I'm speculating.
Ms. Scott?
We have heard from, because the way the policy was previously written is that, as Councillor Bertrand said, the employer is the one who gives us a list of those that qualify. We have heard from Northern Health that they don't like being those ones who have to determine how to apply our policy and who gets it and who doesn't. And so they are the ones that are asking for some clarity on, so they don't have to make those decisions.
Thank you. And, to expand upon that, they just don't want to at all. Because they feel that, cause, I mean, I know who we're talking about, because I've had the same conversation, that, they don't want to be the bad guy in the room because, not everyone gets them, right? Because they're listening to the critical minority about this whole issue. If they have a recommendation, I'd ask that they put it forward. Yeah. Don't let perfect get in the way of good.
Thank you. So I have a couple comments and probably a question, because I'm pretty sure I read it somewhere and now I can't find it. So, so I'm going to talk about Northern Health. When it comes to Northern Health, I do believe that we need to contact Northern Health, give some direction to staff to contact Northern Health, explain that we do give these passes to nurses, doctors, X-ray, any medical professional, locums, the Go Health program, agency nurses, whatever. Can we please advertise within your facility so that the staff that work there or that come there will know that this is what the District of Tunbridge, Mayor, Council, and staff offer on behalf of our community, because you're helping us out within our healthcare. Please fill these forms out, get them to our community, to the community center. Please call one of the councillors or the mayor. We'll pick them up. It seems like it's a heavy concern, so I think it's definitely a topic to have a discussion about. I will be having that discussion with Ms. Scott on I think it's the 13th. Probably higher end than the Northern Health representative that sits on the Health Task Force. Just to have a conversation with Northern Health to see if that is the true sentiment, that they don't want to take part of that. And if they don't, I think it becomes a very big strain. I won't say on us, but we're going to expect locums. We're going to expect an agency nurse or such to fill this out. I know hearing from, I believe it was at the Health Task Force, and please, Councillor Knox or Councillor Murray, correct me if it wasn't there. From my understanding, I heard it there from the employee that works for the division in regards to a locum, that they were having a hard time getting the information back to staff. Spouse's name, birth dates, don't even worry about it. We don't even want these passes. So are we making it, and I see now that we have this form available. Previously, we were making it too hard, trying to get this information to get it back to staff to get these passes made. It was Jenna McQueen I heard it from, so that was a concern. I have the email, and I believe she brought it up at your guys' Health Task Force in regards to that as well, in regards to this, the All Access Pass when it comes to the locums. So is there a different process that we need to take on when it comes to locums compared to the Go Health program or agency nurses? When we talk about, sure, we have a locum that's come back. This is this gentleman's fourth time back, but some, like Councilor Knox, you just mentioned it. Maybe it's their first time coming to the community. Maybe this is their only week they come and they don't come back. Maybe this is a way of them coming back a second or third or fourth or fifth time. Fully support it. That's why this program was put into play in my mind. But if Northern Health wants to not be involved when it comes to supplying names going forward for healthcare professionals who would meet the criteria, or that position meets the criteria, because we have no way into that facility in regards to ownership, we would need permission to advertise within. So we're going to have that discussion, because this is one of the topics. My understanding is we may be missing some few that come into the community that isn't being passed on, and maybe we're not. You two would probably be more aware of that. Ms. Scott, my other question would be, I know we talked about it. I thought I'd read it somewhere within the changes, and maybe I'm losing, just can't find it again. I know one of the reasons this has come forward, with BC Ambulance manning 2 units here, not fully manned, they've been bringing people up from Nanaimo, Victoria, Vancouver, Richmond, wherever, I'll be honest, the whole province of British Columbia, if they want to take a shift in Tumbler Ridge, and if there's an opening, they're flying these individual paramedics up, or they're flying a group up. I was approached by BC Ambulance staff that work in our community, so it was not by the unit chief, but it was by staff, and they said, do you not think this is a good option? So, Ms. Scott, is there somewhere in this policy that we're doing something for this temporary? I thought I'd seen something, or if council can remember where they found it, but I've read it. It's in here?
It is.
Okay.
So I just see we have the ambulance in here in two places. So under section 3.1.1, it's under A and B. It should
Okay.
not be under A.
Okay.
So under B, it does talk about healthcare professionals, staff, and BC ambulance pertains to temporary, part-time, and full-time. Doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, social workers, x-ray lab techs, occupational therapists, paramedics.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you.
unit chief.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's important. I really believe, don't get me wrong, I believe the nurses and all that's important, but as we move forward, I think this was, I think what we've done with these passes is to have an actual, just a member, an employee that works for BCM is bringing this forward. They actually, first they messaged me and then I asked for an email so I could forward it on. But to see that they think how important this is for their brothers and sisters that come to our community to help them out by filling up the second car. Yeah, so I'm glad we can get it in there for now. And I believe that that will be a temporary slot within our policy as they fill the units with full-time members. We obviously won't need it there. It might be able to be changed in a year, but I think it's really important to get it in there. I guess, Ms. Scott, like some of these paramedics, been very clearly made. Some of these paramedics might only come up for 3 shifts and never come back. Are we looking at just doing something at the front desk where they can, I know I did talk, do we need it in this motion, that all they have to do is show their paramedic ID? Yeah, so they'll actually have paramedic ID. I can't remember what it says, we'd get a picture of it. That if they show that, they would get access, whether that's to, because right now our golf course is closed anyways, they get access to our swimming pool or weight room if they were to show that pass at this time.
I will ask our
Sorry.
Director of Community Services if he can provide council with that clarification about how the issuing of the passes work and if that would work if a BC ambulance paramedic was to come to the community center and just ask for the pass, how that would work.
Thank you, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. The way we have working, it is, we receive an email from them saying this person is going to be here this day. And then we confirm the information, then it goes to staff. We printed out a card, like a plastic card, a VIP card. And then it goes to council to deliver them in person, okay? We could do it, if they come to the front desk, we could do that. The only thing that staff is a little concerned is just retaining that work information, right? From the people that are showing up to us. Like, how do we confirm, like, they're working? Like, what do you ask for? Those are the concerns we have without confirming with the agents first.
Okay. Thank you for that. Councillor Noxano, I write something up.
Thank you. I did hear the concern from the PCN about collecting family member names. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. They definitely still want these passes. It was not a concern that it's too much work. It's just how do you, sometimes adding emails into an incoming staff member is a lot of work, or just a bit overwhelming. I really like this form that you can fill out because I see this as an easy way that it can be sent off, filled out, sent back. All the information is in there. It should work really good for people like the PCNs coordinating.
Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Scott, I just want to get, I guess, your opinion. I was going to make a motion that council approves the mayor to contact the unit chief of BC Ambulance to come in to have a meeting with yourself and staff from the community center and how we can fast track a pass where, she would contact him, that whoever the name of the individual is that's coming from the NIMO, it's, whether it's Daryl Kirkcalk or who it is, staff would know that I'm here for 4 days. To me, it just seems like maybe we're concerned that what happens if it's just actually a member that came from Chetwynd and realize if they show their pass, they get free access to our community center. So be it. But if we're just worried about it, and I understand that, but just something like, again, some of these paramedics are coming up, they're being flown up in a short notice to fill a unit and may have an opportunity that they may be able to use our swimming pool in the evening or during the day before they work night shift or whatever. Just trying to make it as easy as possible. If the unit chief was able to, I would think the unit chief would be aware of what individual names they're sending from wherever in the province could give that to yourself, can we forward on to your staff? Here's a list for this week, there's one name on it. I just, to make in the pass, I appreciate it. I think the passes are important. I think it's important that, one of the councils or the mayor, and if we're not available, one of the senior staff are able to go and meet these individuals and explain what our pass is about. But because I believe this is gonna be a short-term concept to fill our second unit for the next 3 or 4 months until they can get all the staff they need hired, that I don't wanna lose the chance of being maybe a way of attracting some of these paramedics from elsewhere to come to the Peace region, not just directly Tumbler Ridge. I hear Dawson Creek, Chetwynd is doing a big hiring process here next week. Any thoughts there? Like, we need a motion.
I think that if these changes that we're proposing to the policy are adopted by council, it can be just staff reaching out to the unit chief to make sure they're aware of these changes and that the temporary members would qualify and that we would request that they assist us in letting us know when they're coming so that we can have those passes prepared. Because like you mentioned too, an important part of the passes, I think, is the giving it to them, welcoming them to the community and thanking them as opposed to them just coming to the desk and getting it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I think I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to talk about ease of access, right? Like, let's just stop worrying about all the administrative burden and get these people into what we're trying to give them, and that's into the gym, into the pool, whatever, right? Like, I get it. I fully support it. I mean, let's be honest. The union, the BC ambulance representative here, like the head, like they're still a working member of the unit. You know, we're adding more and more burden onto them. Let's just get them in there, right? Like, and I can appreciate that. So I fully support it. Off topic. Maybe this is something we should be doing, just expanding that. If you're a member of BC Ambulance, if you're a nurse, if you have ID that says you're a nurse, anybody that of these issues, you get into our facilities. Completely aside, we're not talking about that now. It's the VIP access, but yeah, let's just get them in there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Knox and Councillor Chilik.
I think it'd be a really good way to sell our community. And also, if it is a paramedic from Chetwynd and they have free access to our facilities, do you want to live in Chetwynd or do you want to live in Tumbler?
No, I appreciate that. Councillor Chilik.
So I see photo ID is required when using VIP pass to verify identification. So I think if the nurse or the ambulance worker has picture ID that says that they are an employee, I think that system could possibly work. Part of what I wonder is, I know when I had to, so these are just questions because I know it's the mechanics of it, but it helps me get my head around the value that we're giving. Those passes that get you into the gym, because it's not a big deal if you're going anywhere else, but if you want to get into the gym, you have to have one of those little magnetic cards. And so I think I had to put a $10 deposit down. So I'm assuming those cards don't come back. So there's just an added step into that. And so again, I guess what I'm wondering is, what would be the difficulty in doing a punch pass if we're concerned about getting them in there? Like, so if there's a punch pass available for a supervisor to have, because somebody's coming in for the day until we can get the other process finished. Because I know that there's like 10 punch passes, and so I'm just wondering if that's an option.
Yeah, because the unit chief's always available. Our unit chief actually works full-time. Our unit chief actually works on car.
So it would make it more difficult, so there wouldn't be an access person necessarily within that organization is what your concern is?
Well, usually the unit chief's the one that's in charge, right? So if they're working night shift and they're off when the paramedic shows up in the community, that unit chief could be home sleeping or away on days off.
Yeah.
I'm just trying, I'll be honest with you, I was just trying to make it somewhere, and I think if this gets, obviously we put a motion on the floor. If it gets approved, I think, I really believe I think we can put our faith into staff and pretty clear direction, get these paramedics using our facility. They're coming up from the Nanaimo and Victoria, Richmond, wherever they could fly them from. They're flying from Kamloops and putting them in hotel rooms right now because of trying to get the manpower here to get them in our thing. If they, again, everybody has picture ID now because they have to have it at their hospitals for paramedics. They all have them. To me, if they're showing them at the front counter, I think, I believe I can, staff will reach out, and I appreciate that Ms. Scott, that they can reach out to the unit chief, maybe get a quick update. I believe, listening to Ms. Scott, we'll get these people in.
Okay, the other thing then, I'm not sure that we've answered staff's question, or like we talked about it, but then everybody had a bit of an opinion on a minimum amount. Like, so how this reads right now is if you're temporary, you're getting a pass. Gets like, so pertains to temporary, part-time and full-time and all the things. So if we don't give them direction otherwise, we're saying we're not asking staff for any more information. They could be here for 2 days or 30 minutes and they would still get the pass. Okay.
If it needs to be changed, the motion needs to be put forward.
Okay.
Just gonna look here. Okay, sorry, I am gonna try adding something else to this report, and it'll be under healthcare professionals, staff, and BC ambulance. That we add mental health clinician to the list of medical professional, or health professionals. Seconder, Councilor Norbury, discussion. So again, this, I'll be straightforward, this was coming from Northern Health. Maybe it's something we've missed. I think we fight this battle day in and day out. We don't give it to the receptionist, we don't give it to this. To be honest, I don't know what schooling they need. I'm gonna be straightforward. When it comes to the mental health clinician, I'm not sure if the health task force representatives are aware. Not trying to put you on a spot, but to me, again, if we can get anybody in this community right now, we need them. Loud and clear, we need them. To me, with any position, we really preached that we needed foot care. It sounds like that's been resolved within our own community and such like that. But to me, when it comes to healthcare professionals, we're seeing it. Council does nothing but talk about it and spend a lot of time on it. But I think we have an opportunity to add positions like that. I think it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. It was sent to me by Northern Health. So that's why I've put it out there to add. Again, I don't know what it takes for schooling. I'm not sure if Councillor Noxana or Councillor Norbury know or are aware. I didn't look it up. I seen it. I just make sure I added it. Again, I think it's important. I think somebody mentioned that we're pharmacists. It actually says it right in the bullet B is pharmacists. So.
This does not include.
Oh, there you go. So, sorry, my bad. Should read it, eh? Thank you. Okay, but yeah, that's why I've added it, just because it's come from Northern Health. Councillor Bertrand?
Thank you, Mayor. Just curious and looking for clarification. This came from Northern Health, so are they adding this position or hiring somebody for this position for our community? To be honest, I don't see Northern Health investing in our community, so adding this position at this time would be surprising to me. So I'm curious if they are planning to have this position available in Tumbler Ridge.
Already working within the municipality.
Fantastic.
Kate, call the question in regards to adding the mental health clinician. All in favor? Carried. Are there any changes that council would like to make to this as well? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been emboldened and I'm embracing my inner Councillor Bertrand. I'm going to motion to include that any person who can show their medical ID or education be given access to a pool, gym, rink, and golf course as per our qualifying group or agency.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Councilor Norbury for discussion. Oops, there you go.
Thank you, Mayor. I go back to our Let's Talk. And to me, I believe our community is willing for us to overturn any possible stone to bring in qualified healthcare professionals into our community. I think this is an excellent way to do that. If they come in, they might not hear about it, maybe they do. And so we have a nurse from Chetwynd or Grand Prairie or Dawson Creek go have a hot tub or check out our swimming pool. I think it only sells our community even more. I think it's a great recruitment retention tool. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you. I like this motion. I think of things like our doctors' conference and being able to tell every single profession, there's nurses, there's residents, there's doctors coming to town. They're already seeing how amazing our community is, but as a bonus, you can now go for a swim, go to the gym, have access to our amazing facilities as well. I'm hopeful word of mouth will get out that we offer this, so if someone is coming in for a week, for a visit, and see that we treat our healthcare professionals top-notch, why wouldn't, if you were looking to move, why wouldn't you look at Tumblr a little closer? It might just work.
Thank you. Councillor Gila?
I think this motion gives less clarity to staff than more, because it's saying medical, so what falls under medical? If you're a physiotherapist, but you don't work for Northern Health, you have your own company. If you're like, so are we making sure that they have to work for Northern Health, or they, like, no, because then there's BCEHS. I think that it just gives more of a, I think it's too broad, number one. Number two, I understand the idea of wanting to attract people to our community, and I think that we do that well already without having to throw in VIP passes to everybody. I think that we do an amazing job within our tourism sector. I think that we do a really good job when we do have the docs and dinos come. They put on a good show. The district contributes to that to the tune of $6,000. We have $10,000 that we've already put to the healthcare task force. And while it doesn't all come down to money or value, I think that there are other professions that we struggle with within our community that if we're gonna, and as we sit here and we talk about fair, then if we're gonna talk about fair, we better start opening the door to other stuff. I think that we've talked about this policy multiple times, and we've come to where we're at with it, and I'm comfortable where it is, and until I have stronger evidence, data, I won't be asking to expand it.
Okay, Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not against this in concept, but in this discussion with fine-tuning the current form, and I think we need to go far more granular than that. Who qualifies specifically? Instead of any medical education, or I get the concept. I'm not even necessarily opposed to it, but I'm opposed to it than being that broad. I think we have to flesh that out a whole lot more. The other thing I'd like to comment is I don't think golf, if we're going to include just sort of visitors, tourists, if you will, I don't think the golf course should be included either. I'm good with the community center, arena, gym, and pool, but I wouldn't be good with the golf course with how we've been talking about it tonight, especially if we're tightening things up. I don't think people showing up to town and expecting to get a round of golf in when they flash ID is a good idea. But I hope that comes back, because I think there's potential there, but it's just too broad for me. Thank you.
Okay, I got myself and then Councillor Norberg. Not that I don't like the motion. I'm trying to play it in my head, Councillor Norberg, to be honest with you. What's the gain in it? I keep thinking in my head, yeah, sure, maybe does somebody come out, and I think Councillor Noxana said something, maybe they'll come if they're working in chat, whatever. I think we're really trying to broaden that, and I get we're trying to throw, I think one of our residents said throw some darts at the dartboard. Or do we just see misuse of it when it comes to it? And I don't think that's a bad thing either when it comes in my philosophy of healthcare. But I look at it, how is staff going to deal with this? I look at just the paramedics alone that we're asking for a short few months, possibly a short few months till they fill a second car as they finish some of their hiring processes. But I look at it, how is staff going to handle this? Show your ID. What depends on where, like if you don't work for Northern Health, I think about my wallets in there. I have a medical ID, so I guess that gets me access. I still have a medical for paramedics. It's still a license. It's got my picture on the back. Is that all we're looking for? That really takes anybody that works first aid in the oil field, anybody that works first aid in industry in general, in regards to mines, mills, any industry would have those. I guess for my side, Ms. Scott, what is staff? Like, how would staff incorporate it? Don't get me wrong, I understand that we stay, we're going to be political, you're going to be apolitical. If some policy like this was to go through, is this something staff can take on? just be concerned if, and maybe we don't see a huge increase, Councilor Norbert, and I appreciate the comments. It's taking me a little bit to grasp it. If I keep asking questions, it'll sell it to my own brain. But how would staff handle this?
Well, I mean, my concern is, for showing ID, I mean, I guess I don't know what that, and you kind of brought it up too, I don't know what that ID looks like. Like if somebody brings me a badge and it's got their picture and says they work for Northern Health, does it say what they do with Northern Health? Like, could they be in housekeeping with Northern Health, but we don't know that because it doesn't show that on the badge. Like, I'm not sure from what that ID is going to look like. Additionally, maybe the Director of Community Services has some additional information about the impact of that on his staff as well.
Thanks, Ms. Scott, Mayor and Council. Yeah, that's correct. It is just a matter of verification. How are you going to verify? Like, where are they coming from? Like, what agency do they belong to? I mean, staff can do it. It's just like it's going to fall on staff. Did they get the right information? Did they approve the right person? That's the only main concern we have.
Yep, appreciate comments. Councilor Norberry and then Councilor Noxana.
Thank you, Mayor. And there's some comments about who it would apply to. In the motion, it says as per our qualifying group or agency. So within that, it would mean doctors, nurses, home care workers, social workers, x-ray techs, lab techs, occupational therapists, paramedics, and the inclusion of the mental health practitioner. So, Mayor and Councillor Noxana, I'm sure you are aware, when there's a nurse in the hospital that has a little badge in their ID that says so-and-so licensed nurse or LPN or RN. That's all I'm looking for. It's as simple as possible. Now, also, if somebody has education that is nursing, so they pull up their phone and say, I have a diploma from UBC for a registered nurse. If they're not working, that's exactly who we want to target with this. They're not working right now. They have their registered nursing, and they get a free round of golf out of it. Perfect. We garnered some goodwill with that. That's what we're looking at here. So we do have some specificity in that it only applies to the people in our policy, and we just need to see something, either an ID, their education that says this that's already in our policy, and then they get into the gym. We're not giving them a key card. We just buzz them into the gym, or we let them onto the golf course. That's all we're looking for. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm sure we've all seen the badges that Councillor Norbury is talking about, but they do specifically say emergency room doctor, RN. Like they're pretty specific, and anyone working in that field should say it. They'll say custodian, they'll say anything. I've seen a whole bunch of them, unfortunately, this fall. And this is just one more tool in our basket if it's encouraging one person. We heard at our last health task force about Dr. Helm had a family here. The parents were doctors, encouraging them maybe to look rural. Wouldn't that have been one more thing that was a shining star, I guess, in Tumbler Ridge's basket if that young family could have had access? Take your kids to the pool, and it's free because we really appreciate you and your profession here in our town.
Thank you. I got myself and then Councilor Jillick. Yeah, I don't disagree with you when it comes to Northern Health employees, but not everybody has a badge on. Councilor Norbury just actually reiterated his motion. It's anybody that has the education. So again, I have a card that says I'm a ticketed paramedic. Doesn't say where I'm a paramedic. It just says I'm a medical. I don't know what it exactly says, but it's my ID. I can use it on a plane when they have an emergency on a plane. So it obviously states it, but doesn't state. I believe it says BC. It doesn't state anything else. Doesn't say where I'm from or anything. But if only I have to pull up my phone that I went to college, and here's my degree. How easy is that to do nowadays? Social media and all that. Again, I don't think it's going to be misused. Don't take me wrong. That's why I think maybe this is just coming too quick. Maybe it's for my own brain, Councilor Norbury. Like I said, I don't disagree with your motion. I just, definitely don't want to defer this. I just think it needs to be looked at. I think we're throwing darts out there, and I don't think it's bad, but, I listen to staff, and then all of a sudden if something happens to me, I look at it that we hold staff, Ms. Scott, accountable. All of a sudden we find out it's being misused at the community center. We're not going to take blame for it. We're going to blame Ms. Scott. And, when I see an open-ended policy like this, just show ID or show that you've gone to school, is there a better way of doing it? And, Yeah, I think more and more here. Councillor Julik.
I think when we're looking at the actual cost for a family to go for a single facility pass of $9, I don't think that that's prohibitive. I don't think that, that I wouldn't, like, because I know that the idea is the attraction, to get people to come and see the place. And I think that we do that with our relocation guide. I don't know if we still do the relocation guide, but we have the different guides. We do tourism, we do some value around that. We do a lot of things to bring people to the community. And I think that if our costs were a little more expensive for that family that come in, I think maybe this would be an option. The only other, one other thought for me is if we had some passes that, again, a couple of family passes or something that maybe Dr. Helm or another person in the community, you know, like chief of staff over there, that could hand out when we had some unexpected visitors come in. I think that that's okay. But if you're only paying $5 to go to the pool, I know that that's pretty inexpensive. And so I think that the amount of work that this would add to staff, and I can't support the motion the way it is now.
Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. I do understand the reasoning for the motion. I do like the reasoning. I just don't like the motion. I feel it's open-ended. I feel it'll be an absolute nightmare for our staff to try to administer. And one of the reasons we have this report in front of us today is we've already received some complaints of abuse. So I think I do understand the intention. I just think we need to rethink the motion. So at this time, I can't support the motion on the floor.
Thank you. New information, Councillor Noxana. Must be new information.
I'd like to make an amendment
Okay.
that we make this a policy for a year and track the use and if there has been any benefit.
Okay, seconder on the amendment? I'll second it, just for discussion. I mean, I always say, don't leave it sitting on the floor. Discussion on the amendment. Councillor Norbury, is it on the amendment?
No, this is for.
Okay, no problem. On the amendment, Councillor Noxana?
Thank you. I hear the concern about this just being it could be an abused policy or it's just out there now. What happens now? Well, let's try it. Let's try it for a year. Maybe it's only $9 a family, but if that makes someone feel appreciated, then it worked. And we have spent $9 of taxpayer money to attract healthcare professionals to the community, whether that's locums, whether that they come back as locums or agency nurses, or they move somewhere rural and remote because they recognize that there's value in living in rural communities. I see it as a fairly low-cost way to appreciate healthcare workers and hopefully attract them back to our community.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman and Councillor Jilek.
Thank you, Mayor. I just don't think the motion has been fleshed out enough to administer effectively. I get the idea, the education is just too broad. That's the word I used earlier. I think it just stays too broad. I'm not against the idea. I actually kind of like the addition of having a time limit on it and treat it like we did our food dehydrators thing, that we're putting a plan out and here's what we're doing, here's what we're going to measure, and if it works, great, then we'll do it, and if it doesn't, we don't. But I think this needs to be refined more, and I don't think it needs to be under the current policy. I think we can treat this as a separate idea. That's where I am right now. I don't think the time limit is the issue. I think administration is the issue. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Jilek.
I can't support even the amendment to this. I'm with Councillor Hoffman. I like the idea that there's a timeline. I just feel like it's not about the $9 for me. It's about the $9 is the peanuts, and it's a value because it's not even like $9 out of our pocket. It's $9 that we may have gotten had they paid the $9. It's about the extra work that staff has to go to. And when you have as much casual staff, I shouldn't say as much, but I see casual staff at that front desk. I see casual staff at the pool. Like, it's the amount of the administration part that goes into it and the training that goes into it, because it's not something that's gonna happen all the time. So I feel like it could become more of a burden and more of a detractor, because you go in because you heard, oh, I can go swim at the pool for free, but then you go in there and then you have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops or something because somebody at the desk doesn't know, and so then they gotta, like, I know that I'm taking it down to the like tiny details, but I feel like that's what staff ends up in, is the minutia of it all. And so I just feel like we're like Mayor Kakauka has said, that we're throwing a dart at the dartboard or throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks. I think that we do a really good job of recruitment, working on recruitment right now, and I think that we've got a program that works. I think, again, to add to it is too much for, I just think that, I don't think that the benefits outweigh the pros don't outweigh the cons.
Thank you. Going to call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Gill, Councillor Hoffman, Mayor Kakauka are opposed. The amendment is defeated. Regular motion is on the floor. I will only take new information. Okay, going to call the question on the motion that's on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Bertrand, Councillor Gill, Councillor Hoffman, Mayor Kakauka are opposed. Motion is defeated. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor. So I can appreciate some of the comments from members regarding, want to make sure that this is a good fit for everybody. Maybe we're rushing it. I can appreciate that. We need to hear from staff. So I have the motion, trying to capture some of the concerns and putting more work on staff, but here we go. For staff to bring a revision to the recreation pass benefit policy to include visiting healthcare professionals as per our qualifying groups and agency members to our community to have free access to our facilities.
Okay, I'm not going to accept your motion. That'll be a notice of motion at the next regular council meeting. That is totally away from what we're doing on the policy. We're adding or removing, not looking for another report. That would be a notice of motion, Councilor Norbury.
I'm asking for a revision to include it.
But you're looking for a report from staff in regards to it. So it would be a notice of motion.
I want them just to add it in with using their language.
Okay, can you repeat it then? Sorry, maybe I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Maybe.
So I didn't say report. I said staff to bring a revision to the recreation pass benefit policy to include visiting healthcare professionals as per our qualifying groups and agency members to our community to have free access to our facilities.
So I will look for clarity, but I mean, almost call it a point of order. That motion is already defeated. So my understanding is you've put the motion on, it defeated. Now we're trying to send it back to staff to add it into this report. That's how I read it. Unless I'm listening to you wrong. Do you want to try me again? Sorry to make you read it again, but it sounds like to me that it's almost identical to the to the motion previous. That one was defeated by majority of council. You can bring it back for reconsideration within the same meeting, but to me, you're just trying to add it to policy, which is the same motion that was just defeated.
Yep. I can see that. No, I understand.
I really want council involved, and I'll be honest, I don't even know how to rule this, but I was looking for Ms. Scott because I believe it's a point of order that we've already, I'll be honest, my point of order would be that we've already defeated the motion that you're trying to put back on the floor. If you want to reconsider the motion under new information, you may, but it wouldn't be.
Okay. I'll bring it forward as a notice motion.
Like I would look, I would just suggest that you're looking for a report on how that would look as a notice of motion.
Yep.
To do it here again would not fit to me what we're trying to do with the admin 52 recreation pass benefit policy review. And if any councillor disagrees with me, this would be a point of order to argue with me. Besides Councilor Norbury, because he's the one that's trying to do it. I'm kidding. Even if you don't,
Yeah, I'm
agree, I understand what you're trying to do.
What I'm looking for is to staff to add to this, because our issue is how can staff manage this new addition to this policy.
Yeah.
I would like their input on how they can add it in and overcome any issues. Because obviously what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put a square peg into a round hole, right? So I'm trying to add them to bring forward a recommendation.
So it'd be a report, notice a motion for a report, next regular council meeting. That's what you're really looking for. Because you tried to do it, we tried to add it to this thing tonight, it was defeated. So you're just trying to do it in a review scenario, it's the same concept. But if you bring us a notice of motion at the next regular council meeting asking for a report, you'd be able to get that information that you need to be able to sell to council, hopefully. Make sense? Yep. Okay. Nope, no problem. Again, I try to, I'll be honest, it's PMP, so like this, it's a little bit more relaxed, I would think. And that's why I looked for permission from Ms. Scott earlier than when her staff was talking, his mic was still on. Was she okay if I just asked that question? Because again, in PMP, we're trying to involve everybody. So again, I really want council to be involved, and I don't want to take anything away from council. And that's why I said if council doesn't agree, that's the time to call for a point of order. Anything else council wants to do or say or add or remove or that to this review or to this policy? Councillor Bertrand.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reading it over again here on page 129. Under the section 2E, VIP golf membership, it says, is a season pass that provides access to the Tumbler Ridge Golf Course fairways. So you can golf the fairways, but you're not allowed to touch the greens. I think fairways just needs to be deleted out of this.
I think they're calling it like the fairways, like, adding on to the, okay, put a motion forward to remove fairways. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'd like to motion that we remove the word fairways from section 2E of page 129.
Second. I'll second it. Discussion? Just a wording. Thanks for catching that. All in favor? Carried. Anything else from council? Add, remove, take away? Okay. Okay, I'm going to put the other motion on the floor that amend 52 recreational pass benefit policy be forwarded to a regular council meeting for amendment as presented. Seconder, Councillor Bertrand. As amended, yep. Oh, sorry, did I not say amendment? Amended? I thought I said amended. Okay, well, just clarity that it is the meeting, regular council meeting amended for approval as amended. How about that? Okay, there we go. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Noxana. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. All right, take adjournment. Councillor Noxana.
That the November 10th, 2025 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Adjourned. Next.